Good morning, my dear friend. As the sky begins to shift from darkness to light, as the quiet hush of dawn settles around us, I invite you to pause. Just for a moment. The world is still wrapped in silence. The streets have not awakened. The air is cooler, softer, almost sacred. This hour, before the noise and demands begin, carries a holiness that is hard to explain, but impossible to ignore. It is not just morning, it is an invitation. Perhaps right now, you are listening with a heavy heart. Maybe you opened your eyes earlier than expected, not because you were ready to rise, but because something restless stirred inside you. Maybe it was the ache of uncertainty, a lingering fear, or a quiet grief that one let go. I once heard the story of a woman who had been carrying a silent weight for years. From the outside, everything looked fine: career, family, even her smile. But when the house was dark and no one was watching, she would sit at the edge of her bed, hands clenched tightly, trying to hold together what felt like a breaking soul. One morning, just before 4 a.m., she could not take it anymore. The noise inside her heart grew louder than the silence outside. So she did something she had not done in years. She whispered one sentence into the air: "God, if you are still near, I need you." She did not hear thunder. There was no miraculous light, but the stillness in the room shifted. Something unseen wrapped around her like warmth after cold. She cried not because she was weak, but because something stronger than fear had touched her. And in that simple, trembling whisper, a doorway opened not just to healing, but to a sacred conversation that would change everything. Maybe you are in that place now. Maybe life has handed you more questions than answers. Maybe you have smiled through disappointment, pushed through fatigue, tried your best to be strong for everyone else while quietly falling apart inside. Or maybe you are just hungry for clarity, for peace, for something real. This moment is not about performance. You do not need the right words or perfect faith. You just need a willing heart. Because prayer is not a performance. It is a place where truth meets mercy, where brokenness meets grace, where confusion meets divine peace. Prayer is not about proving anything. It is about opening everything. You were not meant to carry your burdens alone. You were not designed to walk without direction or comfort. Deep within your spirit, whether you recognize it or not, there is a longing to be held, to be heard, to be guided. That longing is not weakness. It is a sacred invitation, and God responds to hunger. He responds to those who seek not with perfection, but with honesty. This morning, I invite you to step into something deeper, not a routine, not a ritual, but a journey, a conversation, a returning. Let the weight you have been carrying settle for a moment. Let your heart breathe. You are not alone. You are not overlooked. There is a reason you are here right now, listening in this hour of stillness. What if this is the morning everything begins to shift? Not because the world gets easier, but because your spirit finds its anchor. Not because the storm disappears, but because peace begins to rise within you. Not because you figure it all out, because you remember who holds it all. So take a breath. Let the quiet of this hour become your sanctuary. Let the light of dawn remind you that newness is always possible. And let your soul begin to speak not to the world, but to the one who has never stopped listening. Welcome to the conversation. Welcome to the healing. Welcome to the journey back to peace. Dear Heavenly Father, I wake up this morning with a quiet ache inside me, one that has no clear name. The room is still, but my thoughts are restless. There is a kind of emptiness that feels heavier than noise. And yet it is this silence that brings me here. I open my eyes before the sun fully rises, and for a moment, I feel the weight of everything I cannot fix, everything I cannot understand. My heart feels like a vessel half drained, unsure whether it is meant to be filled again or simply left still. But here I am. And that, perhaps, is enough. I am not here because I am strong. I am here because I need you. I confess, Lord, that sometimes I move through the days without truly being awake. My body goes through the motions. My voice speaks the expected words, but my soul feels tired, as if it has been walking through a fog too long. I have smiled when I wanted to cry, encouraged others when I could not find courage for myself, and carried burdens that slowly pressed the breath out of me. Yet somehow, through that heaviness, something has called me back. It is not guilt. It is not habit. It is a whisper that says, "Come back to me." And so I come, not with eloquent words, but with open hands. Father, I bring before you this emptiness, this quiet hollow that sits deep within my chest. I do not ask you to erase it right away. I only ask you to meet me in it. Let this space that feels empty become a space you fill with presence. Teach me that emptiness is not always a curse. Sometimes it is the room where you begin to move. When everything else is stripped away, when the noise fades, when the distractions lose their color, that is where you can finally reach me. Perhaps that is why this silence feels so heavy, because it is sacred. It is an altar disguised as absence. In this early hour, I do not have much to offer you. My strength is small, my faith feels fragile, but you have never asked me for perfection. You only ask me for honesty. So I bring you what is real: my fear, my uncertainty, my questions, my fatigue. I bring you the part of me that still wonders whether I am enough, whether I am seen, whether you are truly near. And though I cannot see you with my eyes, something inside me still remembers. The memory of your touch lingers like warmth after a fire, faint but undeniable. I hold on to that whisper of memory as a promise that you are not gone. As the morning light begins to break through the window, I imagine it touching the walls of this room, the way your grace touches the edges of my life quietly, steadily, without demanding permission. Each ray of light feels like a reminder that darkness never wins the argument. The night may speak loudly, but dawn always answers. Let that truth sink deeper into my spirit than my doubts ever could. Remind me that even when I cannot feel you, you are closer than my next breath. Father, I ask you to teach me how to begin again, not with grand plans or resolutions, but with a simple willingness to open my eyes and trust that you are already here. Help me to see the beauty hidden in ordinary things. The sound of a bird outside, the faint hum of the morning air, the quiet rhythm of my own heartbeat. Let these small moments remind me that life itself is a gift, and that even when my soul feels distant, you are not. You have been here through every unspoken tear, every restless night, every uncertain dawn. There are pieces of me that have forgotten how to hope, places inside my heart that used to dream, but now only remember disappointment. Touch those places, Lord. Breathe life into what has gone quiet. Heal the weariness that sits beneath my skin like a shadow. Help me to stop pretending that I am okay when I am not. Help me to trust that you are not disappointed in my weakness, but drawn to it. Because in the spaces where I have nothing left to give, that is where your grace begins to overflow. I do not want this morning to be just another routine, another whispered prayer that fades into the noise of the day. I want it to be real. I want to feel you meeting me here, not because of anything I have done, because that is who you are, a God who leans close to those who whisper in the dark. So come close now. Sit with me in this quiet place. Let your presence steady my breathing and calm my racing mind. Let your peace move through me like the first light of dawn, gentle yet unstoppable. If I have been running, slow me down. If I have been hiding, draw me out. If I have been numb, awaken me again. I do not ask for easy answers. I ask for your nearness. I ask for the courage to stay in this moment long enough to feel you, long enough to be honest, long enough to be changed. Take this emptiness, Father, and turn it into the beginning of something sacred. Let this fragile prayer become a bridge between my weariness and your renewal. Let this quiet morning become the start of remembering who I am in you, not because I am whole, but because I am held. So here I am, eyes open, heart trembling, standing in the thin space between night and day. The world outside is still, but inside, something begins to stir. It is small, like the flicker of a candle in the wind, but it is enough. It is the sound of my soul beginning to wake up again. It is the soft hum of faith returning to its rhythm. It is hope, fragile but real, whispering through the dawn. You are not alone. You never were. And this emptiness you feel is not the end of the story. It is the place where light begins to rise. Lord, in the quiet that remains, I feel something fragile forming inside me. Not a thought, not even a prayer yet, just a breath. A single breath that feels heavier than usual, not because of burden, but because of meaning. It carries a pause, a hesitation, a question. Before I say another word, before I pour out all the things I do not yet understand, I stay here with this breath. Let it linger. Let it speak before my voice does. There is something sacred in this waiting. I did not come this morning to perform. I did not come to recite rehearsed lines or to impress you with spiritual strength I do not have. I came because I need to remember how to be real again. And right now, this breath is the most honest thing I can offer you. It does not have structure or clarity. It simply says, I am here, and I want you, not for what you can fix, not for what you can give, but for who you are when everything else feels uncertain. That is why I have not rushed to speak, because I do not want to miss the weight of this stillness. God, it is in these moments, between waking and speaking, that my soul feels most vulnerable. Not broken, not desperate, just exposed, like standing barefoot on ground I am not sure is safe to walk on. There is a kind of trembling I cannot explain. It is not fear, it is reverence. It is the awareness that you are near, and I am not quite ready to step into words just yet. But even so, I know you are listening not to my vocabulary, but to the rhythm beneath it. The rhythm that says I am trying to trust you. This space before the cry matters to you. I feel that it is not a void, it is preparation. It is the hush that comes before a holy sound, like the earth holding its breath before the first bird sings, like the air settling right before rain begins. You are teaching me that the silence is not absence. It is invitation, an invitation to lean in before I pour out, an invitation to open my hands before I open my mouth, an invitation to let you hold me before I ask you to heal me. So I lean, slowly, carefully, but intentionally, not because I am strong, but because something deep in me knows you will catch me. You always have, even when I did not recognize it, even when I assumed you were far because I felt alone. Now I see that you were closer than the noise, closer than the H. You were in the breath that carried me through the night. You were in the stillness that waited while I slept. And now, as I exhale again, I feel you meeting me there. I do not want to rush this part. The part where I begin to feel instead of explain. The part where I allow the weight I have carried to become known, not just by me, but by you. Not because you did not already know, but because something changes when I offer it freely. So I stay here a little longer, breathing in this early air, letting it fill the corners of my chest where worry had made its home. And with each breath, I surrender just a little more, not because I know what to say next, but because I no longer need to say everything all at once. You are not measuring my prayer by its length or its structure. You are listening for truth, and the truth is, I am tired of speaking before listening. I am tired of reacting before resting. I am tired of asking before acknowledging. I am tired of pretending before praying. So here, in this pause, I choose to breathe first. I choose to center myself not in emotion, but in your presence, not in my plans, but in your nearness, not in what I expect, but in who you are. Let this breath be the doorway. Let it open a space where I can lay down the weight, having to be strong. Let it remind me that you are not moved by performance, but by presence. You draw near to the honest, not the polished, to the surrendered, not the scripted, to the still, not the loud. And this morning, I choose to be still. The light outside is starting to shift. I can feel it in the way the shadows soften, in the way the air tastes cleaner, more alive. There is something sacred about this hour that words can't quite touch, but my soul feels it, like the turning of a page, like something is about to begin, not because I force it, but because you are here, And where you are, new things grow. So I won't rush ahead. I won't fill this space too quickly. I won't trade this sacred hush for hollow sound. Let me sit here a while longer with this breath. Let it stretch out like a bridge between what was and what will be. Let it prepare the soil of my heart for what you are about to plant. Let it break the hardness that built up from days of carrying too much in silence. You are not far from my quiet. You are in it. You are not lost in my waiting. You are shaping it. You are not delayed in my stillness. You are deepening it. Every breath I take in this moment is evidence that you are not finished with me, that something holy is happening, even if I do not have words for it yet. So I breathe again, slowly, deeply, with intention, not because it solves anything, but because it reminds me of what is true. I am alive. I am seen. I am heard. I am not alone. You are here, and that is enough to steady me. That is enough to begin again. That is enough to wait before I cry, to breathe before I speak, to feel before I ask, to listen before I plead. This is not delay. This is preparation. You are not silent to frustrate me. You are present to fortify me. You are grounding me before I lift my voice. You are holding me steady before I pour out the fragile places. So let me be still a little longer. Let this breath stretch wide across my chest like a sunrise across the sky. Let it soften me. Let it strengthen me. Let it become the quiet offering I place at your feet, knowing you receive even the smallest act of faith as something sacred. And when the time comes to cry out, when the words begin to rise, let them rise from this place, from presence, not panic, from truth, not fear, from rest, not reaction, from breath, not burden, because in this space, before the cry, I have already been seen. I have already been met. I have already been steadied. And that changes everything. Father, now that the stillness has settled and the breath has made space inside me, I feel something deeper begin to rise. It is not loud. It does not demand attention, but it is there, sitting just beneath the surface, waiting to be seen. It is the H I did not name, the grief I pushed down, the fear I tried to outpace. I have grown so used to carrying it quietly that I almost forgot it was still inside me. But in this early morning light, with my soul laid bare and my heart softened by your nearness, I can feel it moving, not to haunt me, but to be healed. Lord, I do not know when I started believing that silence was strength, that if I kept smiling, kept functioning, kept showing up, it would somehow make the weight go away. But now I see that hiding the H has not healed it. It has only buried it deeper, like a seed I never meant to plant, but kept watering with quiet tears. And now, here it is, breaking through the surface of my calm. I do not want to run from it anymore. I want to offer it to you, not with shame, but with trust. There are things inside me that I never put into words. Moments I replay quietly when no one is looking. Memories I flinch away from even now. Fears that wear different names but carry the same voice. and beneath them all, there is a cry soft, trembling, but persistent, not angry, not demanding, just a cry that says, "This still hurts, this still matters, this still needs your touch. I do not want to silence that cry anymore. I do not want to pretend that time has made everything okay. Some wounds do not age. They settle. They shift into other forms: overthinking, withdrawal, defensiveness, constant striving. And I confess, Lord, that I have learned to function with these hidden weights as if they were normal. But this morning, I realize I was never meant to live that way. You did not create me to survive silently. You created me to live fully. So I bring you the cry beneath the surface, the one I tried to ignore because I thought it was too late to feel it, too messy to explain, too small to matter. But you have always been drawn to the broken. You have never been afraid of the mess, and nothing I bring you is ever too late. So here it is, my unspoken grief, my unshed tears, my questions without answers, my sorrow without language. I do not know what to say. I only know it is time to stop hiding it from you. God, you are not asking me to fix myself before coming to you. You are asking me to come to you so that you can begin the healing. So I lay it down not because I understand it all, but because I trust that you do. I trust that you can handle the parts of me that still shake, the disappointments that never fully settled, the prayers that felt ignored, the faith that feels smaller than it used to. I bring it all because you never asked for polished prayers. You asked for honest ones. There were moments in my life I did not know how to grieve, so I moved on too fast. There were losses I did not know how to name, so I carried the sorrow in silence. There were fears I could not admit, so I buried them under strength I did not really have. And even now, I feel the resistance inside me, the part of me that wants to move on quickly, to keep things light, to skip past this cry. But I won T, because you are here, and if you are here, then I am safe enough to feel. Let these tears be holy. Let them fall like rain on dry soil, softening the places I thought would stay hard forever. Let this H become a doorway instead of a wall. Let my sadness not be shameful, but sacred, because in this moment, I know I am not crying alone. You are with me. You always were. Even when I did not feel you, even when I questioned everything, you never left. So I let the cry rise now, not because I am broken beyond repair, but because I am done pretending I do not need you. I do. I need you in this raw, unfiltered, uncertain space, not to fix everything in an instant, but to hold me while I learn how to feel again, while I remember how to trust again, while I let you speak into the very places I have kept quiet for too long. I give you the weight of disappointment that shaped me, the rejection that echoed longer than it should have, the fear of being too much or not enough, the silent grief of things that ended before they had a chance to bloom. I give you the parts of me I was too scared to show others, the parts that whisper, if they really knew, they would not stay, but you know, And you stay. You always stay. You see the story behind the tears. You understand the tremble in my chest, the lump in my throat, the sigh that speaks what words cannot. You do not need me to explain it all. You already understand. And still, you draw closer, not to judge, but to join me here, to be the shelter for my storm, the comfort for my cry, the peace for my pain. So I surrender the pressure to be okay. I surrender the need to rush into strength. I surrender the fear of what this cry reveals. And instead, I invite you into it, not as a distant God, but as the one who kneels beside me in the dark and says, I am here. I see you. I am not going anywhere. Let this be the beginning of something deeper than healing. Let it be the beginning of intimacy, of knowing you not just as a provider, but as a comforter, not just as a protector, but as a companion in sorrow, not just as a God who answers, but as a God who stays. And maybe, just maybe, this cry is not weakness. Maybe it is worship. Maybe it is the most honest sound my soul can make. Maybe you delight in it, not because you enjoy my pain, but because you cherish my trust. Because when I cry to you, I am not turning away, I am turning toward. And that matters. That movement, however small, shifts the atmosphere inside me. It breaks something open. It allows something new to begin. So I do not rush to end this cry. I let it be. I let it rise and fall as it needs to. I let it speak what I cannot say. And as I do, I feel something shift. Not everything, not all at once, but something. A loosening, a softening, a sense that maybe this hidden pain is not a prison, but a path that leads me closer to the one who has always loved me beneath the surface, God. Now that the cry has been released and the heaviness has found air to breathe, I feel something else stirring gentler, quieter, but just as real. It comes like a whisper from somewhere far off, like the soft echo of a melody I used to know by heart. It catches me off guard. I was not looking for it, but now that it is here, I want to listen. Because in this space I have made by being honest, there is room again for remembrance. I did not expect memory to arrive like this, not with noise or fanfare, but with stillness, not like a rush of the past flooding in, but like lights seeping under a closed door. It comes softly, scenes I had not thought of in a long time, moments I did not realize had stayed with me. The time you came through quietly when I was sure I was alone. The peace that settled over me in a hospital room when fear had taken up too much space. The conversation that brought comfort I did not know I needed. These are not loud memories. They are sacred ones. The kind that remind me you have always been closer than I thought. Father, help me to remember well not just the pain, not just the questions, but the grace, the unexpected provision, the strength that showed up inside me when I was too tired to ask for it, the tears that turned into clarity, the silence that became a sanctuary instead of a sentence. Sometimes I forget what you have already done because I am too focused on what I am still waiting for. But in this moment, I want to give you space to bring it all back. Not to cling to the past, but to remember who you have always been in it. There were nights when I did not think I would make it to morning, but I did. There were seasons when the weight was unbearable, yet I am still standing. That did not happen by accident. You were there, guiding when I did not know which way to turn. You were present in the voices that spoke life when my own felt too broken. You were steady when everything else was shifting, and even when I did not recognize your hand, you were still holding mine. I remember now, the way your peace would settle over me like a blanket when I could not sleep, the way a simple verse, a single sentence, would land in my chest like an anchor. I remember the kindness of strangers, the timing of calls, the way someone said exactly what I needed to hear when they had no idea what I was walking through. That was not coincidence. That was you. The quiet ways you have always pursued me. The subtle fingerprints of grace I did not notice at the time, but see now with clearer eyes. Remind me again, Lord, that I do not have to feel you loudly to know you are near. That sometimes you speak not through thunder, but through the gentle nudge to pause. Sometimes you comfort not with answers, but with presence. And sometimes, the greatest miracle is not that the situation changed, but that I was able to stand through it without breaking. That I was held together when everything else was falling apart. Help me not to romanticize the past, but to recognize your faithfulness in it. Help me not to look back with regret, but with reverence, because when I trace the journey of my life, I see now that even in the most fragile places, you were writing something deeper. You were shaping strength in me through seasons I thought were only about survival. You were planting roots when I thought I was only enduring. You were building in silence what would later become the foundation for my trust. I do not want to forget these things. I do not want to rush past them in search of the next answer, because the same God who was with me then is with me now. The same whisper that found me in the dark still knows how to reach me today. I do not need to chase signs when I have memories. I do not need to grasp for control when I can lean on what you have already proven. God, you have never failed me, not once. Even when the outcome was not what I hoped for. Even when prayers did not look the way I imagined. Even when answers felt delayed. You were faithful. You were present. You were working in ways I did not yet have the language to describe. And now, as I sit in this morning light, I feel the power of those truths wrapping around me again. Bring back the moments when peace did not make sense, but arrived anyway. Bring back the stillness that carried more power than the storm. Bring back the awareness of your presence that held me steady when my heart was anything but. And in doing so, remind me that the same God who met me before has not changed. You are still writing this story. You are still weaving grace into the places I cannot see. Sometimes I think I need something new to believe again. But maybe I just need to remember. Remember the times you caught me, the days you carried me, the nights you whispered when everyone else was silent. Let those memories be the stones I place on the path behind me, not as a monument to the past, but as markers of your unwavering presence. Let them guide me forward with trust, not nostalgia. with expectation, not fear. I may not know what today will hold. I may not see how the next steps unfold. But I have a history with you, a history that tells me you do not abandon your own, a history that tells me I am never without hope, even when I do not feel strong, a history that whispers, if he was faithful then, he will be faithful again. So I hold these memories close, not to cling to what was, but to anchor my faith for what is. Let them become a sacred echo inside me, rising above doubt, louder than fear. Let them remind me who I am, because of who you have always been. And in that remembering, let my heart steady itself again, not in what I feel, but in what I know. You have not left me. You never will. And you are still speaking. Even now, through the quiet echoes of everything you have already done. Lord, the memories you brought back linger like a soft glow after the storm. They do not demand attention. They simply remain gentle reminders that you have been faithful through every season. As I sit here, I feel something deeper forming, not just gratitude, but trust, the kind of trust that grows slowly, almost quietly, the kind that does not need to shout to be real. I realize now that trust is not built in moments of certainty. It is shaped in silence, tested in waiting, and strengthened when nothing makes sense. I used to think faith meant always feeling strong, that believing in you meant walking confidently, declaring victory even when my heart was trembling. But you are teaching me that real faith is quieter. It is not the absence of doubt, but the choice to lean in even when doubt whispers. It is not shouting over fear, but breathing through it while knowing you are near. It is the courage to rest when everything inside me wants to fix, to control, to understand. Father, teach me to trust the quiet. Teach me to find peace not in answers, but in awareness that you are present even when the sky is gray. Even when prayers seem unanswered. Help me to believe that silence is not distance, that when you seem still, you are not absent. You are working in ways too intricate for me to see. Let me not mistake your patience for your absence, or your stillness for neglect. You are not ignoring me. You are preparing me. I admit, Lord, waiting has never been easy. My heart has grown restless in the in-between places, where doors stay closed longer than expected and prayers echo without immediate reply. I have wrestled with questions like, did you hear me? Or am I forgotten? And yet, here I am still breathing, still hoping, still being carried. Maybe that is what trust truly looks like, not the disappearance of questions, but the refusal to stop believing even when questions remain. God, I want to rest in that kind of trust, the kind that does not crumble when the road gets longer, the kind that does not depend on immediate outcomes, but on enduring faith, the kind that remembers that you are the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Even when everything around me shifts, help me to settle into this truth. You are not only the God of miracles, you are the God of mornings like this, quiet, unassuming, slow to unfold, but full of grace. In this calm, I see how you have always worked in layers. You never rush, but you never forget. You plant seeds in seasons that feel barren. You water faith in hearts that feel too dry to believe again. You build foundations in silence, so that when the wind comes, what you have built does not fall apart. I see now that your quiet work is the most powerful kind. The world may measure progress by motion, but you measure it by surrender. Father, if I am still in the middle of something you are building, help me not to force it open before its time. Help me to trust that what you are shaping in the dark will one day rise in the light. Help me to remember that delay is not denial, and that the unseen chapters of your plan are just as sacred as the visible ones. If you are still writing, then I want to keep reading. I want to stay patient, knowing that the author is good. There is a strange beauty in learning to trust you here, in this in-between space. It is not a loud kind of beauty. It is quiet. It is steady. It is like the rhythm of the ocean at dawn, constant, deliberate, unstoppable. It reminds me that your presence is not always a wave that crashes. Sometimes it is the tide that never leaves. Sometimes the miracle is not rescue, it is endurance. Sometimes it is not the sudden shift, but the slow shaping of my heart until I can recognize peace even when nothing else changes. So I won't fight the quiet anymore. I won't run from it, fill it, or try to escape it. I will stay. I will let it teach me. I will let it soften me. I will let it rebuild what hurry and worry have broken. Because somewhere in this stillness, you are speaking, maybe not with words, but with warmth, with the gentle weight of your peace resting on my shoulders. Teach me, Lord, to be content here, to stop measuring faith by noise or movement, to find meaning in this sacred pause. Because maybe this pause is where transformation begins. Maybe trust grows best not in answered prayers, but in unanswered moments. Maybe strength is not found in striving, but in surrender. You have been whispering to me through the stillness all along, have not you? I just could not hear it over the sound of my own effort. But now, I am learning to listen, to notice the way peace hums beneath the surface of uncertainty, to see how even my restlessness is an invitation to return, to breathe, to believe again. You are not rushing me. You are renewing me. So here I am again, in the space between asking and receiving, learning to trust that both are holy, learning to see that silence is not empty. It is full of your presence. That stillness is not the end. It is the preparation. That waiting is not wasted. It is where roots grow deep, and maybe that is what you have been trying to show me all along, that faith is not found in the noise, but in the quiet courage to keep going, even when nothing looks certain. I do not need to fill the silence anymore. I do not need to perform to prove I am faithful. I just need to be still and know that you are God, that you are here, that you are working, that even now, in the slow unfolding of this morning, you are building something in me that will last. Something steady. Something strong. Something born from trust. So I let the quiet stay. I let it stretch out like light across the horizon, touching the corners of my doubt, softening the edges of my fear. I sit within it, not as a prisoner to uncertainty, but as a student of grace, And in this space, I realize that maybe trusting you has never been about knowing what comes next. It is about knowing who holds me while I wait. Father, as the quiet deepens and I learn to trust it, something within me begins to stir a realization that trust is only the beginning. To truly walk with you, I must go further. I must surrender, not as a dramatic act of defeat, but as a gentle release, an unclenching of what I have been gripping too tightly for too long. The more I listen in this stillness, the more I sense you inviting me to let go, not because you want to take something from me, but because you want to give me something better, something lighter, something free. It is strange how much I cling to the very things that exhaust me, the plans I cannot control, the expectations I have built, the fears that shape my decisions. I hold them as if they keep me safe, but all they do is weigh me down. You never asked me to carry these burdens, and yet I have made them part of my identity. I have worn worry like armor and called it preparation. I have mistaken anxiety for responsibility and pride for strength. But now, in this soft light of morning, I see that surrender is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is the moment my soul finally aligns with truth. Lord, teach me how to release what I was never meant to hold. The need to understand every detail, the pressure to prove my worth, the fear that if I stop striving, everything will fall apart. Show me that letting go is not abandonment, it is faith. It is the quiet declaration that you are God, and I am not. It is trust in motion. It is peace learning to breathe. God, you know how hard it is for me to surrender. You know the battles I fight inside the urge to control what is uncertain, the habit of running ahead of your timing. You know the nights I have stayed awake replaying conversations, predicting outcomes, trying to rewrite the past or anticipate the future. And you watch me with patience, not anger. You wait for me to remember that I was never called to carry it all. You wait for me to exhale. You wait for me to return. This morning, I feel the pull to lay it all down. Every false responsibility, every illusion of control, every secret fear that whispers, if you let go, everything will collapse. I bring it all before you now. Not neatly, not perfectly, but honestly. Here are my plans. Lord, you can have them. Here are my worries, you can hold them. Here are my wounds, you can heal them. I surrender not because I have no fight left, but because I finally understand that I do not need to fight what you have already won. The act of surrender feels like falling, but it is really flying. It feels like loss, but it is really freedom. It feels like the end, but it is actually the beginning of peace. I realize now that surrender is not an event. It is a rhythm. It is the daily practice of remembering who you are and who I am not. It is the slow undoing of my pride until humility becomes home. It is the moment I stop managing outcomes and start trusting your process. Father, help me to find beauty in that process, to see surrender not as a last resort, but as the first response, to recognize that every time I open my hands, I make space for you to move, to understand that obedience without surrender is just performance, but surrender with trust becomes worship. Let this moment be worship. Let it be holy. Let it be honest. There are things I have prayed for that have not come to pass yet. There are dreams I have watched fade and doors that never opened. And though part of me still aches for what was lost, another part is beginning to see that maybe surrender does not erase desire, it refines it. It teaches me to want what you want, to love what you love, to rest where you place me. It transforms longing from impatience into intimacy. Sometimes I wonder what life would look like if I truly lived surrendered. If I stopped trying to make everything make sense and simply trusted that you already see the full picture. If I stopped reacting to fear and started responding to faith. If I stopped rushing and began resting in your pace. That kind of life would be lighter. It would be slower. It would be full of grace. It would feel like breathing again. So teach me, Lord, how to surrender not just in words, but in spirit. Teach me to surrender my schedule, my expectations, my outcomes. Teach me to surrender my image, my reputation, my need to be understood. Teach me to surrender even the good things, the ones I have idolized, the ones I have made bigger than you. Teach me that surrender does not diminish them. It sanctifies them. It returns them to their rightful place, gifts, not gods. In this surrender, I feel the tension loosen, the weight lift, the fear fade, not because the world has changed, but because I have. Because the grip has softened, and in its place comes something sacred, peace. Not the kind that depends on circumstances, but the kind that simply is, the kind that sits quietly inside and whispers, "You are held." Maybe that is what surrender really means, to be held. To stop reaching for control and start resting in connection. To stop wrestling for answers and start receiving assurance. To stop planning for every possibility and start believing that whatever comes, you will meet me there. So here I am again, Father, hands open, heart willing. I do not know what this day will bring. I do not know what will unfold or what may fall apart. But I choose to meet it surrendered. I choose to trust the one who holds the dawn, who commands the light, who whispers peace into chaos. Take what I cannot carry, hold what I cannot fix, heal what I cannot see, and in the space between what I want and what you will, let me learn to rest. Let surrender not be my last breath of exhaustion, but my first breath of freedom. Let it be the way I wake up to grace, the way I remember I am not alone, the way I begin again lighter, freer, unafraid. Lord, now that surrender has loosened the weight around my soul, I feel a quiet spaciousness inside me, an openness I did not know I was missing. The air feels lighter, as if something invisible has lifted. I can breathe again, but the breathing feels different now. It is slower, deeper, more aware. There is no rush, no urgency to fill the silence. For the first time in a long time, the quiet does not feel empty. It feels alive. And in that aliveness, I realize that you are beginning the slow, sacred work of healing. Father, healing does not always arrive the way I imagined it would. It is not always a sudden miracle or a loud deliverance. Sometimes it is a slow unfolding, like morning light creeping across a darkened room. Sometimes it is found in the pause between pain and peace, in the tender moments when you touch the very places I tried to hide. Healing is not the absence of wounds. It is the transformation of them. It is the process where scars become stories, and stories become strength. There are still parts of me that ache, memories that sting, fragments of fear that linger in the corners of my mind. I do not pretend they have vanished, but I feel something shifting. The pain does not rule me like it used to. It no longer feels like a chain, it feels like a teacher. Through it, I am learning compassion, patience, gentleness toward myself. I am learning that you do not waste pain. You use it as a tool to carve depth into my spirit, to soften my judgments, to make me kind in ways comfort never could. God, thank you for meeting me here in the in-between, the place where the wound is still tender, but the healing has begun. This is the place where faith feels raw but real. I can see the full picture yet, but I can sense you working beneath the surface, aligning things I cannot name. Healing is rarely visible at first. It begins in hidden soil, in the unseen surrender of the heart, and I trust that you are tending that soil right now. I can feel you reminding me that healing is not linear. Some days I will wake up strong, others fragile. Some mornings I will feel peace. Others, the old ache may whisper again. But even in those moments, you remain constant. You do not measure progress the way I do. You are patient with my process. You do not rush me or shame me for needing time. You simply stay. You sit with me through the discomfort. You breathe with me through the tears. And you wait with me until hope rises again. Lord, help me to see healing as holy, not hurried. Help me to value the process more than the outcome, because this is not just about feeling better, it is about becoming whole. It is about learning to live unguarded, to trust again, to love again, to walk freely in the world without fear of breaking. Wholeness is not perfection, it is peace. It is the quiet knowing that even with scars, I am still yours. Teach me to care for my heart as you do to treat it not as a battlefield, but as sacred ground. To listen when it speaks, to rest when it trembles, to forgive it when it falters. Too long I have carried shame for my wounds, as if being broken made me unworthy. But you are showing me that brokenness is not disqualification, it is invitation. You meet me most deeply in the places that hurt, not because you enjoy my pain, but because you know that only love can transform it. And in this space, where surrender and healing intertwine, I begin to sense your tenderness more clearly. It is not the kind that demands immediate change, but the kind that sits quietly beside me, whispering, "You are safe now." Those two words, Lord, they undo me, because for so long I lived braced for impact, waiting for something to go wrong, preparing myself for disappointment before joy could even arrive. But you are teaching me that safety does not come from control. It comes from closeness, your closeness. So I rest in that closeness now. I let it wrap around me like a blanket made of mercy. I let it soften my edges, calm my heartbeat, quiet my racing mind. I let it remind me that healing is not an event, it is a relationship. It happens through presence, through time, through trust. You are not simply fixing what was broken. You are renewing what was lost. You are teaching me to live unafraid of tenderness, to stop expecting pain at every turn, to recognize that goodness can exist without conditions. I begin to see how healing also means unlearning. Unlearning the lies I believed about myself, that I am too much, or not enough, or beyond repair. Unlearning the habits of hiding, the instinct to shrink, the need to earn love. You are replacing those old patterns with truth, with gentleness, with grace. Slowly, the language of my soul is changing from self-defense to self-acceptance, from fear to faith, from survival to surrender. And as this transformation continues, I feel gratitude rise, not the kind that ignores pain, but the kind that grows because of it. Gratitude for the lessons that broke me open, for the nights that forced me to reach for you, for the tears that became seeds of compassion. Healing has taught me to see the sacred in the struggle, the beauty in the breaking, the purpose in the pause. It has taught me that every scar is a sentence in a larger story, a story you are still writing with mercy as the ink. Father, let me live from that story. Let me carry my healed places not as proof of what hurt me, but as evidence of what held me. Let my scars speak not of defeat, but of deliverance. Let my voice become softer, my presence kinder, my faith deeper. Let every wound that once whispered despair now echo with hope, because the truth is, I am not who I was when the pain began. I am stronger, gentler, freer, and though I am still healing, I am already whole in you. So I stay here in this still work of healing, aware that it is not finished, but already sacred. I breathe in the calm, exhale the old H, and trust the rhythm you are creating inside me. It is slow, it is tender, it is real, it is holy. And with every breath, I know you are not just healing my heart, you are teaching it how to live again. Father, as the quiet work of healing settles deeper within me, I begin to feel something new, subtle but steady, like the first warmth of sunlight brushing against skin after a long night. It does not rush in, it unfolds. This peace feels different from anything I have known before. It is not loud, not fragile, not conditional. It is a peace that simply exists, woven into the rhythm of my being, like light finding its way through a window that once stayed closed. I sense that this is what it means to walk in new light, not a blinding glow, but a gentle radiance that guides me one step at a time. Lord, I did not know renewal could feel this quiet. I thought transformation would come with clarity and certainty, but instead it comes with calm. The world around me has not changed much, but something inside has. I no longer wake with the same weight pressing against my chest. The H is still there, but it no longer owns me. My heart, once guarded and bruised, now beats softer, freer, more open. It is as if your hand has touched the deepest parts of me and whispered, "Rise." And slowly, I am rising. God, thank you for teaching me that healing does not end in stillness. It begins to move. It walks. It breathes. It steps into life again. I feel myself learning how to live differently, not rushing to fill silence, not fearing the unknown, not needing to have every answer before I take another step. There is a new rhythm forming inside me, one that mirrors yours, unhurried, intentional, full of grace. I can sense you in every breath, every pause, every simple moment that used to feel ordinary, but now feels sacred. You are showing me that this light is not just around me, it is within me. It is the evidence of your presence, the quiet glow of your work taking root. It reminds me that joy is not something I chase. It is something that grows where peace has made a home. And now, walking in this new light, I begin to see the world differently. The same streets, the same sky, the same sounds all carry a softness I had forgotten existed. Even the smallest things feel holy. The sound of morning wind through the trees, the reflection of sunlight in water, the breath that moves gently in and out of my chest. These are not coincidences. They are reminders that life itself is a gift, and that you are woven into all of it. Father, I realize that walking in new light means carrying the lessons of the dark without being defined by them. It means remembering what pain taught me, but refusing to live inside it. It means honoring the wounds that once broke me, not by reopening them, but by living as proof that they no longer have power over me. It means learning to love again, to trust again, to hope without fear that it will be taken away. It is not forgetting, it is forgiving. It is not escaping, it is evolving. There is a humility that comes with this light. I no longer feel the need to pretend I have everything together. I no longer fear the days when the clouds return, because even if shadows come, I know the light does not leave. It only hides for a while, waiting for my heart to remember that it is still there, that you are still there, that no darkness, no doubt, no failure can separate me from the love that restores all things. Lord, help me to walk with that assurance, to carry this peace into the world, not as something I must protect, but as something that protects me. Let my presence be calm in the chaos, gentle in the noise, steadfast in uncertainty. Let others see your reflection in the way I speak, in the way I listen, in the way I choose patience over panic. I do not want to merely receive your light. I want to radiate it. I want my life to become a quiet echo of your grace, steady, compassionate, unafraid. Sometimes I still feel fragile, as if I could break again. But even in that fragility, I sense strength. Not the kind that demands attention, but the kind that endures quietly. Like roots beneath the earth, you have taught me that strength is not loud, it is faithful. It is the choice to keep showing up, to keep believing, to keep loving even when I do not have guarantees. That is the kind of strength I want to live from. That is the kind of light I want to carry. God, as I walk forward, I no longer ask for perfection. I ask for presence. I do not seek a life without pain. I seek a heart that can find peace in its midst. I do not ask you to remove all uncertainty. I ask you to keep me steady when it comes. Because this light you have given me, it is not fragile. It is forged in the fire of what I have survived. It is strengthened by every moment I thought I could not go on but did. It is alive because you are. Let me not take this new beginning lightly. Let me walk it out with gratitude. Let me remember that renewal is not just for me, it is for the world around me. Every act of kindness, every word of encouragement, every quiet prayer I whisper for someone else is a way of passing on the light you have placed in me. Let me live as a vessel of that light, not hoarding it, but sharing it freely, knowing it never runs out when it comes from you. The morning outside has grown brighter now. The air feels alive with promise. I can almost hear creation breathing in rhythm, with my heart the trees swaying, the sky stretching wider, the earth humming softly beneath my feet. It feels like everything is awake, and I am part of it again. For the first time in a long while, I am not standing on the edges of my own life. I am in it, present, aware, grateful. Father, thank you for bringing me here to this quiet, sacred beginning. Not the kind of beginning that erases what came before, but the kind that redeems it, the kind that carries both light and shadow, joy and sorrow, strength and softness. This is where I find you not only in miracles, but in mornings like this, where peace comes quietly. And I finally have the courage to receive it. So I step forward into this new light unhurried, unafraid, and awake, not because everything is perfect, but because you are here, because you are the light that never fades, because you are the morning that never ends, and because walking with you is, and will always be, the truest kind of healing. Lord, the light that now fills my morning feels both tender and strong. It is no longer the hesitant glow that once trembled on the horizon. It is steady, patient, sure, and as I stand within it, something inside me begins to awaken a quiet courage I had not felt in years. It does not roar or demand attention. It hums softly, reminding me that beginnings do not always announce themselves with thunder. Sometimes they arrive quietly, carried on the breath of a new day. And in this stillness, I sense you calling me to begin again. Father, there was a time when those words "begin again" filled me with dread. I used to see starting over as failure, as proof that I had not done enough the first time. I feared the unknown, feared repeating the same mistakes, feared the disappointment of hoping once more. But you are rewriting that meaning for me. You are teaching me that to begin again is not to return to what was lost, but to step forward with what has been learned. Beginning again is not weakness, it is resurrection. I realize now that every morning you give is an invitation to start anew, to breathe differently, to think differently, to live with intention instead of fear. The sun rises not because the world deserves it, but because grace insists upon it. And if creation itself can renew with such gentle certainty, then so can I. So can every weary heart that chooses to keep believing. God, thank you for the courage you are stirring in me, the courage that does not erase vulnerability, but walks alongside it. Courage that does not deny fear, but moves anyway. Courage that whispers, you can try again, even when the past still echoes with failure. Courage that looks at broken pieces and says, this is where beauty begins. I am learning that courage is not always grand or visible. Sometimes it is the quiet decision to get up, to show up, to take one more step. It is the gentle whisper that tells me to love even when I have been hurt, to trust even after disappointment, to dream even when I do not yet see the way. Courage is not waiting for the perfect moment, it is stepping into the imperfect one, knowing you will meet me there. Father, help me to begin again without fear of what others may think. Help me to live unburdened by comparison, free from the pressure to measure my journey by someone else's timeline. You have written a unique rhythm for my life, one that unfolds at your pace, not the world's. Let me trust that pace, even when it feels slow. Let me embrace the beauty of progress that cannot be measured by speed. You have shown me that new beginnings often grow from endings I once grieved, that sometimes the loss I resisted was the soil where new life could take root. And though I still carry memories of what was, I now see them not as chains, but as lessons. They are not meant to confine me, they prepare me. Every disappointment, every delay, every detour has shaped my understanding of grace. They have taught me not to cling to outcomes, but to cling to you. Lord, when I begin again, remind me that I do not start from nothing. I start from experience, from faith, from wisdom forged in pain. I start with a heart that knows both breaking and mending, both sorrow and peace. I start with eyes that have seen your faithfulness too many times to doubt it now. Beginning again is not returning to square one, it is stepping forward with deeper roots. Give me courage not only to rebuild, but to rejoice in small progress. Teach me to celebrate the quiet victories, the mornings I wake with gratitude, the days I choose peace instead of panic, the moments I forgive instead of holding on. These are not small things. They are sacred signs of new life unfolding. They are evidence that healing is working, that faith is alive, that your spirit is breathing within me. Sometimes, Lord, I still feel hesitant. I look at the road ahead and wonder if I am strong enough. But then I remember strength was never mine to begin with. It has always been yours, flowing through me in moments I thought I could not go on. Every time I have stumbled, you have steadied me. Every time I have fallen, you have lifted me. Every time I have wanted to quit, you have whispered just enough hope to carry me through. That is the miracle of beginning again, not that I am fearless, but that you are faithful. God, remind me that beginnings do not have to be dramatic to be divine. Sometimes they are simply a decision to breathe deeply, to smile again, to forgive myself, to reach for what once felt impossible. Help me to see the sacredness in ordinary starts. Help me to see that you are present not only in breakthroughs, but in the slow unfolding of daily grace. Every sunrise is proof that you have not given up on me. So why should I give up on myself? I want to live this new season differently. I want to move with purpose, not pressure. I want to act from peace, not fear. I want to love without holding back, to give without expectation, to walk with open hands ready to receive whatever you place there. And if I stumble, if I falter, if I lose sight of the light, help me remember that beginning again is always an option. You never close the door on those who are willing to return. This courage you have placed within me, it is quiet but unshakable. It is not built on my own will, but on your unwavering promise. It reminds me that no ending is final when you are present, and no failure can outweigh grace. So I step forward, not with certainty, but with confidence in you, not with a perfect plan, but with a trusting heart. Not because I have it all figured out, but because I know the one who does. Father, let this courage carry me through today. Let it shine in my words, my thoughts, my kindness toward others. Let it be the gentle strength that steadies me when fear tries to return. And as I walk in this new light, teach me to live not just for survival, but for wonder. Teach me to see each moment as a fresh chance to reflect your love, to begin again, and again, and again. Father, as I step forward in the courage you have given me, I find my heart resting on something softer, something deeper: gratitude. It rises not as a loud song, but as a steady hum beneath everything else, quiet yet unshakable. It does not depend on what I see or what I have. It lives in the knowing that you are here. Gratitude is no longer a fleeting feeling that comes and goes with circumstance. It has become a foundation. It is the steady rhythm that keeps my soul from drifting. Lord, I used to think gratitude meant celebrating only the good things, the answered prayers, the breakthroughs, the victories. But you are teaching me that true gratitude is broader, richer, more courageous. It means seeing your fingerprints not just in joy, but also in the waiting, in the uncertainty, even in the H. It is learning to thank you not because everything is perfect, but because you are present in everything. Gratitude does not deny pain. It transforms it. It is the quiet act of saying, even here, I see your hand, God. When I look back now, I realize that every valley carried a hidden mercy. Every delay held a lesson I needed. Every heartbreak revealed a love I had taken for granted. And though I would not choose to relive those moments, I can finally thank you for them. Not because they were easy, but because they shaped me. Gratitude has opened my eyes to see that even the hardest seasons were never wasted. You were weaving grace through the cracks, turning what broke me into what built me. There is something sacred about gratitude that changes how I move through the day. It slows me down. It makes me notice the light slanting through the window, the steady rhythm of breath, the laughter of someone I love. All of these are reminders that life itself is a gift. Gratitude does not need grand gestures. It lives in small awareness. It is the pause between thoughts, the soft smile that comes from remembering how far you have brought me. It is the peace that whispers, you are held, even when nothing else feels certain. Father, I do not want to wait for moments of abundance to be thankful. I want to carry gratitude as a lens, to see everything through its light. When things go well, let me praise you with joy. When things fall apart, let me still whisper thank you, not as denial, but as defiance against despair. Gratitude does not erase sorrow. It teaches me that joy can exist beside it. It teaches me that hope is not fragile. It teaches me that peace does not need to shout to be real. Sometimes, gratitude feels like a choice I make before my heart catches up. on difficult days. It begins as a discipline, a quiet rebellion against fear. But as I keep practicing, it becomes more natural, less effort, more flow. It becomes the language my spirit speaks. It reminds me that even when life feels uncertain, grace is constant. You are constant. You are the reason I can look at what is unfinished and still say, "It is well." Lord, there are things I still long for, prayers I still wait to see unfold. But I no longer see waiting as emptiness. It has become an altar of gratitude, a place where I can thank you not only for what has come, but for what is coming. Gratitude turns waiting into worship. It shifts my focus from what I lack to what you are already doing. It reminds me that blessings often grow slowly, like seeds beneath the soil. And though I cannot see them yet, I can thank you for the roots already forming. You are teaching me that gratitude and trust are inseparable. When I thank you, I am acknowledging that you are working even when I do not understand how. Gratitude becomes the bridge between my questions and your peace. It holds me steady when life feels uncertain. It helps me release control. Not because I have given up, but because I have learned that I am already held by the one who never lets go. Father, help me to carry gratitude beyond words. Let it show in the way I treat others, in the way I listen, in the way I move through the world. Let it be visible in how I forgive, how I give, how I speak softly even when I could shout. Gratitude, when it is real, changes everything. It changes how I see, how I react, how I live. Let it shape me into someone whose presence brings peace, whose heart radiates quiet joy. I think of the times I took ordinary moments for granted: the morning air, the sound of rain, the kindness of a stranger, the comfort of a familiar voice. Now, I see how sacred they are. Gratitude has turned my attention outward, from longing for what is next to loving what is now. It is teaching me that fulfillment is not found in more, is found in awareness. Every breath is a reminder that I am alive by grace, and that alone is reason enough to give thanks. Even the challenges of today can become offerings of praise. The uncertainty that once made me anxious now reminds me of my dependence on you. The interruptions I used to resent now teach me patience. The answered prayers remind me that your wisdom runs deeper than my desire. Nothing is wasted in your hands, not joy, not sorrow, not silence. Gratitude turns each one into a thread in the tapestry of your goodness. Lord, if I could sum up what I feel this morning, it is this: gratitude has become my quiet strength. It steadies me more than success ever could. It fills the hollow spaces that fear once occupied. It gives meaning to every breath, every moment, every step. It does not demand more from life. It delights in what is, and the more I thank you, the more I see that gratitude does not just change my perspective, it transforms my entire being. So I walk forward into this day not counting what I lack, but cherishing what I have been given: the air in my lungs, the light that breaks through the window, the grace that has carried me this far, each one a miracle, each one enough. Gratitude is not just a prayer I speak. It is a way of seeing. It is how I choose to live, awake, grounded, and aware of your goodness that keeps unfolding, one quiet blessing at a time. Lord, As gratitude settles deeply into my heart, I feel you leading me toward another quiet truth: letting go. It does not come to me with the same ease as thankfulness. It trembles at first, uncertain, as if afraid to release what my hands have held for too long. Yet, within this stillness, I can sense that letting go is not loss, it is grace in motion. It is the space where peace begins to breathe. It is where surrender meets freedom. Father, I have spent so much of my life clinging to plans, to outcomes, to people, to the idea of who I thought I needed to be. I have held on to control like it could save me, as if the world would unravel the moment I loosened my grip. But control has never been a shelter. It has only been a burden disguised as safety. You are showing me that true peace does not come from holding tightly. It comes from trusting you enough to release. Letting go is not about forgetting, Lord. It is about opening my hands so that something new can enter. It is about believing that what has ended still holds purpose, that what slips away does not disappear into meaninglessness, but finds its place in your greater design. Every release is an act of faith, a quiet declaration that I believe you are wiser than my fear, kinder than my doubt, stronger than my longing. God, you know how hard it is for me to let go of the past. There are moments that replay in my mind the words I should have said, the choices I wish I could rewrite, the people who drifted away before I was ready to say bye. Sometimes I still hold conversations in my head that never happened, trying to make peace with ghosts. But you whisper gently that healing is not found in rewinding, it is found in releasing. When I loosen my grip, I make room for grace to move. There is a strange freedom in surrender. It does not come through force, but through softness. It is not defeat. It is the quiet strength of trust. When I stop fighting for control, I discover the safety of your hands. Letting go does not leave me empty, it leaves me open. And in that openness, you plant new beginnings that I could not have imagined while I was still holding on. Father, help me to let go of what no longer serves your purpose for me: resentment, regret, comparison, the weight of trying to prove my worth. Help me to release the false belief that I must always understand before I can trust. Faith is not built on explanation. It is built on surrender. Teach me to let go not with bitterness, but with blessing, to say goodbye not in anger, but in gratitude, to look at endings not as failures, but as quiet transitions into what is next. I am learning that even love requires letting go, not because it fades, but because it transforms. When I release people into your care, I love them more freely. I stop trying to control their paths or rescue them from their lessons. I begin to see them as you do, whole, capable, beloved. Letting go does not mean I stop caring. It means I stop carrying what was never mine to bear. Sometimes, Lord, it is not the big things I struggle to release, it is the small ones. The little disappointments, the unspoken expectations, the daily irritations that slowly harden my heart. Teach me to let go in these moments too, to breathe before I react, to choose peace over pride, to lay down the need to always be right and instead choose to be kind. Letting go, I see now, is not just an act, it is a rhythm. a way of moving through life with open hands. There are days when letting go feels like standing in the dark, unsure if the light will return, but every sunrise proves it does. Every dawn whispers that endings are never final. The night always passes, the shadows always fade. So too will this season, this fear, this ache. The light will find me again, not because I chase it, but because you are faithful to bring it. That is the promise that steadies me when I release what I cannot keep. Lord, remind me that letting go does not mean giving up. It means giving over. It is handing you the things I can't fix, the hearts I can heal, the answers I can find. It is trusting that you are already working in places I cannot see. It is believing that your timing is not late, that your silence is not absence, that your plan is not cruel. When I let go, I am not losing control. I am returning it to where it belongs to you. Teach me to see letting go as an act of worship. It is not passive, it is powerful. It says, I trust you more than I trust my fear. It says, your way is better, even when I do not understand it. It says, I believe that love can hold what I cannot. In this way, letting go becomes holy. It becomes a song of freedom whispered between breaths. Father, help me to release the future too. I often try to script it, to predict how things should unfold. But the truth is, I do not need to see the whole path. I only need to walk the next step in faith. You hold tomorrow, I hold trust. And that is enough. The more I surrender, the lighter I feel. The more I release, the freer I become. My hands, once clenched in fear, now rest in peace. God, thank you for the beauty that comes from surrender. Thank you that every release is a beginning in disguise. Thank you for teaching me that letting go is not the end of love, but the beginning of trust. I do not have to carry everything. I do not have to understand everything. I only have to stay open to let you take what is heavy and replace it with light. So this morning, I open my hands. I release what was, what is, and what might be. I breathe deeply, not in resignation, but in relief. I am not empty, I am free. And in that freedom, I find you again, waiting patiently, as you always have, in the quiet grace of letting go. Father, as the calm of surrender settles into my soul, I sense something luminous unfolding, a quiet awareness of the light that remains. It is not the bright, blinding light of certainty, but a gentler glow, steady and enduring, like the last trace of dawn that refuses to fade. After the letting go, after the emptying, what is left is not absence, it is clarity. It is the still flame of your presence that no wind can extinguish. Lord, I realize now that every step of this journey, faith, courage, gratitude, surrender has been leading me here, to this still place of knowing that even when everything changes, you remain. That light is not always about visibility. Sometimes it is about warmth. Even when I cannot see the path, I can feel your nearness, like sunlight resting softly on my skin. You are the quiet reassurance beneath my uncertainty, the breath that steadies me when I am tempted to rush, the peace that whispers, you are not alone. God, There was a time when I searched for you in grand signs and sudden miracles. I wanted proof, something tangible to anchor my faith. But the more I grow, the more I realize you are most easily found in the ordinary, in the morning breeze that brushes my face, in the pause before a word of kindness, in the heartbeat that continues even when I forget to notice it. Your light does not always announce itself, it just remains. It is never loud, but always present. Father, it humbles me to see how long I chased what I already had. I thought joy was something I needed to earn. Peace was something I needed to find. And love was something I needed to deserve. But now I understand they were never far away. They were hidden in the stillness I avoided, waiting for me to stop striving long enough to see. The light was always here, patient, unwavering, waiting for me to lift my eyes. Let this light, Lord, become the lens through which I see everything. Let it soften my judgments, quiet my fears, and illuminate the sacredness woven through each ordinary moment. When I encounter struggle, let this light remind me that pain is not the end of the story. When I face uncertainty, let it guide me toward trust. When I feel alone, let it reveal that I am surrounded by unseen grace. There is a tenderness in this realization, a soft joy that comes from no longer needing to chase what can only be received. The light that remains is not something to reach for. It is something to rest in. It does not fade when the day grows dark. It glows from within. It is not the promise of a life without storms, but the assurance that even in the storm, I will not be consumed. Lord, teach me to live from this light, not toward it. Let it be the quiet rhythm beneath my choices, the still center in the noise of the world. Let it guide how I speak, how I listen, how I love. When I walk into crowded spaces, let this inner light remind me to be gentle. When I face conflict, let it remind me that peace is not passive, it is powerful. When I encounter sorrow, let it hold me until the ache softens into understanding. Father, I know there will be days when shadows return, times when fear grows louder, when faith feels faint. But even then, the light will not leave me. It may dim behind clouds, but it never disappears. You have placed within me something that cannot be broken. A spark of divine presence, a quiet resilience that rises again and again. It is this light that tells me to keep going, to keep believing, to keep loving. Even when the world grows dim, you are showing me that light is not something I carry for myself alone. It is meant to be shared, reflected, multiplied. When I offer kindness, I am extending the glow. When I forgive, I am clearing space for it to shine brighter. When I listen with compassion, I am letting your warmth reach another heart. Every gentle act, every moment of mercy, becomes a reflection of the light that remains. Lord, I no longer seek perfection. I seek presence. I no longer ask for a life free of darkness. I ask for light enough to see the next step. I no longer chase understanding. I rest in trust. The light that remains teaches me that faith is not about knowing every answer. It is about believing that love never stops moving. Even when life shifts, even when dreams unravel, even when endings come too soon, the light remains. Father, Let this awareness transform how I move through each day. Let it make me more patient with others, more forgiving with myself, more aware of the beauty tucked into the ordinary. Let it remind me that every breath is sacred, every moment a chance to begin again. The more I live in this light, the less I fear what comes next. I understand now that hope is not something fragile. It is the quiet fire that endures when everything else falls away. This morning, as the world stirs awake, I lift my face to the sky and see how the light touches everything without asking for permission. It moves gently, faithfully, finding even the smallest corners. That is what I want my heart to be like, to shine quietly, to love without condition, to remain steady no matter the changing seasons. I do not have to be the brightest flame. I only need to be true to the light within me. God, thank you for the stillness that reveals what endures. Thank you for the grace that never leaves, for the light that guides me when I can no longer see the way. I no longer pray for clarity as much as I pray for presence, for the courage to walk in trust, the peace to stay rooted in faith, and the tenderness to recognize your light in all things. And as I step into this day, I do so not with fear or striving, but with quiet wonder. The light that remains is not behind me or ahead of me. It is here, now, alive within. It moves with every breath, every heartbeat, every whisper of grace. It reminds me that even as the world turns and seasons change, there is a love that never fades, a peace that never leaves, a light that will always remain. Lord, from the quiet glow of the light that remains, I begin to sense something flowing deeper within me, peace. Not the kind that depends on calm circumstances, but a peace that runs steady beneath the surface of everything, like a river that never stops moving. I can feel it now, gentle yet strong, shaping the edges of my heart, smoothing the sharp places that fear once carved. This peace is not loud or fragile. It is ancient, alive, and unbreakable. It does not need proof to exist. It simply is. Father, I used to think peace was something I had to earn, something that arrived only when everything finally made sense. But you are teaching me that peace begins long before understanding. It begins when I choose to trust you more than my confusion. It begins when I stop wrestling with what I cannot control and lean instead into your steady presence. It begins when I breathe deeply and remember that you are here, and that is enough. The world often speaks of peace as an achievement, something external that must be secured. But this peace, your peace, is inward. It flows quietly from surrender. It is born in the moments when I finally stop trying to fix what only grace can heal. It rises when I stop chasing explanations and start resting in your heart. It is not the absence of storms. It is the calm that holds me steady while they pass. God, I can feel how this peace changes everything. It softens how I see the world. It turns panic into patience, worry into wonder. It does not erase my questions, but it silences the noise around them. I find myself less afraid of the unknown, because your peace has taught me that I do not need to see every outcome to feel secure. Peace is not about clarity, it is about confidence in your goodness. Even when the path is hidden, Lord, this peace is like water. It moves gently, finding every hollow space within me. Filling what was once empty, it cools the heat of my anxiety, washes away the residue of fear, and leaves behind a quiet clarity. It does not demand attention. It simply flows, quietly shaping me into something new. I realize now that the river of peace was always there, waiting for me to stop stirring the water with my striving. Father, help me to stay in the current of this peace. When chaos rises around me, let me not fight the flow. Let me trust the direction it takes, even when it carries me where I did not plan to go. I know now that peace and control cannot live in the same heart. When I choose one, I release the other. So today, I choose peace, not the temporary kind that comes from comfort, but the eternal kind that comes from you. There is something holy about resting in this stillness. It is as if every moment slows to the pace of grace. I can feel the weight of old worries lifting, one by one, replaced by a calm so deep it humbles me. Peace does not numb me, it awakens me. It helps me see life as it is, fragile, sacred, fleeting, yet full of meaning. Every breath becomes a quiet prayer. Every silence becomes communion. Lord, teach me to bring this peace wherever I go. Let it flow through my words, my tone, my choices. Let it be present in my presence, a stillness that others can feel when people cross paths with me. May they sense not perfection, but peace of peace that reminds them of you. Let me be like a riverbank for those who are weary, a safe place where souls can rest and breathe again. There will still be moments, Father, when waves rise, when the current feels too strong. But even then, your peace does not leave me. It becomes the deep rhythm beneath the noise, the quiet certainty beneath the chaos. The storms no longer frighten me as they once did. I know now that peace is not destroyed by turbulence, it is revealed through it. Like a river that carves canyons through stone, your peace shapes strength from every difficulty. This peace also teaches me gentleness. It slows my reactions, reminds me that not every battle requires a response. Not every wound needs defense. Some things can be released into silence, and in that silence, peace does its work. When I respond with calm instead of anger, I see how peace disarms tension. It does not conquer through force, but through quiet endurance. It wins not by shouting, but by standing still. Father, I think about how Jesus slept through the storm while the waves crashed around him. That image lives in me now, not as a story, but as an invitation to rest, even when the world trembles, to trust, even when I can't predict the outcome, to know that peace is not the reward for faith. It is its companion. You do not promise a life without storms, but you promise yourself in the midst of them, and that is more than enough. There is a sweetness in this realization. Lord, peace does not demand that I escape reality. It invites me to dwell in it differently. It allows me to walk through pain without becoming it, to feel fear without feeding it, to love deeply without clinging. Steadies my heart and teaches me that life's flow is not something to resist, but something to move with. You are the current. You are the source. Now, as I sit in the quiet of this morning, I hear the faint echo of birds awakening, the soft hum of life returning to the world. This moment is simple, yet it feels holy. It is here that your peace finds me again. No thunder, no grand revelation, just the steady assurance that I am held. And in this peace, everything aligns. My fears settle, my spirit steadies. My heart remembers that nothing can separate me from your love. Lord, let this peace remain not as a fleeting feeling, but as a living truth within me. Let it be my anchor when I drift, my compass when I am uncertain, my strength when I grow weary. Let it remind me that I belong not to chaos, but to you. And as this river of peace continues to flow, may it carry me ever closer to the heart of the one who calms all storms, not by stopping them, but by stilling the soul that walks through them. Father, as the river of peace continues to flow within me, I begin to understand another sacred truth. It is in stillness that your strength is revealed. The world often tells me that strength means constant movement, achievement, or control. But in your presence, I learn that the greatest power is often found in quiet surrender. Stillness is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is the place where my soul stops, striving long enough to hear the sound of your heartbeat guiding my own. Lord, there was a time when silence frightened me. I filled every empty space with noise, every pause with worry. I thought that stillness meant stagnation, that if I stopped moving, life would pass me by. But now I see that stillness is not the absence of motion, it is the fullness of presence. It is standing firm in faith when everything else demands panic. It is choosing peace instead of pressure, trust instead of tension. It is knowing that you are at work even when nothing seems to move. God, you teach me that stillness is strength because it is rooted in confidence, not circumstance. When I am still, I am no longer reacting to every fear or distraction. I become anchored, steady, unshaken. The storms can roar, the world can rush, but within this sacred quiet, I remain centered in you. I no longer need to force outcomes or chase answers. Stillness reminds me that time is not my master, you are. Father, I can feel how this stillness strengthens not only my spirit, but also my heart. In the calm, I begin to see with clarity. I notice details I once overlooked: the rhythm of breath, the softness of light, the whisper of grace in small things. I realize that the strength you give is not about conquering others. It is about mastering myself. It is about learning to pause before I speak, to breathe before I judge, to listen before I decide. This is the discipline of peace, the quiet resilience that grows from resting in you. Sometimes, Lord, the hardest thing to do is nothing. To wait, to sit in the tension of uncertainty without trying to fix it. Yet it is in those very moments that you are molding my faith. Waiting is not wasted time. It is holy preparation. Stillness becomes the soil where trust takes root. It is in the silence that I hear your guidance most clearly, not in the thunder of urgency, but in the whisper of patience. Father, I now understand that stillness does not mean inaction. It means intention. It is the conscious choice to remain grounded in love rather than pulled by fear. It is standing tall in unseen battles, knowing that victory belongs to you. When I am still, I am not alone. I am surrounded by your strength, upheld by your promises, carried by your peace. The quiet is not empty, it is sacred ground where miracles begin. There are days, Lord, when the noise of life feels overwhelming. News, worries, responsibilities, they all clamor for attention, demanding energy I no longer have. In those moments, I long for your stillness more than anything, to sit in the quiet and remember that I am more than my to-do list, more than my struggles. I am yours, and in that belonging, I find rest. My worth is not measured by productivity, but by presence, your presence in me. Teach me, God, to bring stillness into the middle of chaos. Let it travel with me into conversations, into conflicts, into crowded spaces. When others speak in haste, help me to listen with peace. When decisions feel urgent, help me to pause long enough to let wisdom rise. When fear tempts me to rush, remind me that stillness is not delay, it is discernment. Every pause is a prayer, every breath a reminder that you are here. Lord, you showed this truth through creation itself. The sun does not rush to rise, yet it never fails to bring morning. Rivers do not hurry, yet they carve valleys and give life. Even the earth rests in seasons, trusting that stillness brings renewal. So too must I learn to rest, to trust the timing of grace. I do not need to push what you are already carrying. Your strength is revealed in the rhythm of stillness, slow, sure, unstoppable. Father, I see now that stillness is not retreat, but readiness. It is the gathering of strength before the next step. It is the quiet breath before the song begins again. In stillness, you prepare me to walk with wisdom instead of haste, with calm instead of anxiety. You teach me to respond instead of react, to move from purpose instead of panic. It is here, in this sacred quiet, that I learn how to truly live. There is beauty in this gentle strength. It does not demand attention. It radiates peace. It does not shout to be heard. It speaks through presence. It is the kind of strength that remains when everything else fades, the strength to forgive, to endure, to hope. This is not the strength of muscles or willpower. It is the strength of faith rooted in rest. It is the quiet power of knowing that I am held even when I am still. God, help me to protect this stillness. Let me not fill it with distraction or fear. Let me guard it like a sacred flame that lights my path. When the world pulls me toward noise and haste, remind me of the river of peace that flows beneath it all, reminding me to return to the calm. In stillness, I can hear you. In stillness, I can heal. In stillness, I become strong enough to love again. Now, as morning stretches across the sky, I sit in the soft hum of awakening and feel the quiet pulse of your strength rising in me. The air feels lighter, my mind clearer, my spirit grounded. I do not need to rush this day. I only need to live it slowly, intentionally. With you, stillness does not take me away from life, it returns me to it, whole and renewed. Father, Let this strength remain in me throughout the day, a steady calm that neither fear nor noise can steal. Let my stillness become a sanctuary for others, a reminder that peace is possible even in the midst of motion, for it is here, in this holy quiet, that I finally understand your strength is not found in doing more, but in being still and knowing you are God. Lord, as stillness deepens and settles into the rhythm of my soul, I begin to understand the quiet art of waiting. It is not a pause of despair, but a sacred act of faith. Waiting, I have learned, is not about time, it is about trust. It is not a punishment, but a preparation. It is not a void, but a womb where something unseen is forming. You are teaching me, Father, that patience is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is the posture of a heart that believes, even when there is no visible sign to hold on to. Father, so often I have feared waiting. I called it silence, assumed it meant you had turned away. In those seasons, I searched for answers, signs, and quick relief, anything to avoid the ache of uncertainty. But now I see that waiting has been your gentle classroom. It is where I have learned to listen, not with my ears, but with my spirit. It is where you have taught me that faith does not grow in the rush of outcomes, but in the quiet endurance of time. God, I have come to realize that waiting reveals who I truly am. It exposes my fears, my impatience, my need for control. It shows me how easily I trade faith for comfort. Yet, in that revelation lies transformation. When I finally stop demanding clarity, when I surrender my timeline to yours, something shifts inside me. The weight of urgency gives way to the lightness of trust. I begin to see that waiting is not wasted, it is sacred time where roots grow deeper, unseen but essential. Lord, I think of how the seed must wait beneath the soil before breaking into light. It cannot rush its season. It must trust the rhythm of creation. The tree cannot force its fruit to ripen before its time. Even dawn itself must wait behind the horizon until the world is ready for light. Everything that endures learns to wait. So why should I, made in your image, fear this holy pause? You are not delaying to punish. You are preparing to bless. Father, when the waiting stretches long, help me to remember that you are not still because you are absent, but because you are working in ways I cannot see. Your silence is not distance, it is depth. You are orchestrating things beyond my understanding. Aligning hearts, shaping paths, softening the ground for what is to come. Waiting is not empty, it is full of your unseen movement. Every moment of delay is a moment of design. Lord, waiting also teaches me to let go of false urgency. I used to think life was a race to achieve, to prove, to arrive. But now I see that rushing often leads me away from wisdom. In the stillness of waiting, I hear truth more clearly. I notice what truly matters. I begin to love the process instead of worshiping the result. I learn that faith is not measured by how fast I receive, but by how deeply I trust when nothing seems to change. Father, in the waiting, you refine me. You strip away the pride that believes I know what is best, the fear that clings to control, the impatience that demands constant movement. You replace them with humility, peace, and endurance, I begin to see that waiting is not passive. It is an active surrender. It requires strength to stay, to hold on, to hope without evidence. It is courage dressed in quiet. It is the long obedience of the heart. There are moments, Lord, when I still feel the ache of delay, when I look around and see others moving forward while I seem to stand still. In those moments, remind me that comparison blinds me to grace. My path is not theirs. My pace is not their measure. You are doing something unique in me, something that cannot be rushed. Waiting is how you protect me from stepping into blessings unprepared. It is mercy disguised as slowness. Father, I want to learn to wait like the prophets who trusted your promises, even when years turned to decades. Like Mary, who pondered instead of panicking. Like the psalmist, who said, "My soul waits for the Lord more than watchmen wait for the morning." To wait with expectancy, not anxiety. To rest with assurance, not resignation. To believe that your timing is not late, it is perfect. Lord, in the midst of waiting, give me the grace to stay grateful. Gratitude transforms delay into devotion. When I thank you for what is unseen, I align myself with heaven's rhythm. I stop striving for control and start living in communion. Gratitude is what keeps my heart from hardening. It keeps faith alive while I wait. Even now, as I wait for answers, for healing, for direction, I can feel your presence reminding me that waiting is not standing still. It is walking with you at your pace. Sometimes, Father, the waiting feels like standing in the middle of a quiet field, unsure where to go next. Yet even there, I sense your breath in the wind, your warmth in the sunlight, your whisper in the still air. You remind me that waiting is not about arrival, it is about awareness. It is not about what happens next, but who I become in the meantime. I am learning that waiting is its own form of worship, where every moment becomes an offering of trust. God, teach me to see waiting as sacred space, not wasted time. Let me be still without growing stagnant, patient without growing weary, hopeful without growing naive. Let waiting make me gentle, not bitter. Let it strengthen me instead of breaking me. Let it deepen my roots in faith, so that when the season of fulfillment finally arrives, I will not be overwhelmed by its weight, but ready to hold it with grace. Father, I no longer ask for everything to come quickly. I ask instead for the patience to stay faithful while wait. Let each pause be a prayer, each silence a song, each delay a doorway to deeper trust. Waiting has taught me to find you not just in the answered prayer, but in the unspoken one. To feel your presence not just in what happens, but in what has not yet come. And as the morning stretches further into day, I lift my heart in quiet confidence. I do not need to rush. I do not need to know how or when. I simply need to stay here, in this gentle rhythm of waiting, knowing that in your perfect time, everything unfolds with purpose. The wisdom of waiting is not about endurance alone. It is about resting in the hands of the one who makes all things beautiful when the time is right. Father, from the stillness of waiting, something new begins to rise, a gentle healing, that comes not from striving but from surrender. It does not arrive as a sudden miracle or a burst of triumph. It begins quietly, like soft light finding its way through a broken window. I can feel it in my chest, a slow mending, a release that does not erase the pain but transforms it. Healing, I am learning, is not the absence of wounds, but the presence of peace within them. Lord, I used to pray for you to take the pain away, to erase the scars, to rewrite the story so that I would no longer have to remember. But you are showing me a deeper way. You do not always remove what hurts. Sometimes you redeem it. You take the shattered pieces I wanted to throw away and shape them into something sacred. You make beauty out of what once felt unbearable. Surrender is how you heal me when I stop fighting what is and allow grace to breathe through the cracks. God, this kind of healing is not passive. It asks me to face what I have avoided, to hold the brokenness with compassion instead of shame. It invites me to forgive not only others but myself, to release the weight of regret I have carried like chains. I thought strength meant holding everything together, pretending I was fine, but true strength, I see now, is the courage to fall apart in your presence and trust that you will hold what I cannot. Father, you remind me that surrender is not defeat. It is the doorway through which restoration enters. When I let go of my need to understand, you begin to weave meaning from my confusion. When I stop hiding my wounds, your light begins to touch them. Healing does not always look like resolution. Sometimes it looks like resurrection. The same heart that once bled can beat again, stronger and softer at the same time. There were seasons when I tried to numb myself to survive. I buried my pain under business, under distraction, under pride. But no matter how deep I hid it, the H would always whisper in the quiet. Now I understand that what I tried to silence was not my enemy. It was the place you wanted to meet me. My brokenness was never a disqualification. It was an invitation. You never asked me to be perfect before coming to you. You asked me to be honest, and in honesty, healing begins. Lord, it amazes me how gently you work. You do not rush the process or demand progress. You move like a physician who knows that healing takes time, that wounds must breathe before they close. You teach me to be patient with myself, to stop expecting instant transformation. Healing is not a race, it is a rhythm. It moves with the pace of mercy, not with the urgency of fear. Every tear becomes holy water, every scar a testimony that I have survived with you. Father, I once believed that healing would make me who I used to be, but now I see that it makes me someone new. The loss does not disappear, but it changes shape. It becomes compassion. The pain that once isolated me now helps me understand others. The weakness I once despised becomes a bridge to empathy. You do not waste anything, not the waiting, not the wounds, not the seasons of silence. Every part of the journey is redeemed in your hands. Sometimes, Lord, healing feels like remembering the things I tried to forget, the moments that left marks on my soul. But this time, I look back not with bitterness, but with gentleness. I can trace the fingerprints of your grace, even in the hardest places. You were there when I did not notice. You were carrying me when I thought I had fallen alone. And as I revisit those memories with you beside me, the pain loses its power. What once defined me now refines me. God, help me to keep surrendering, even when it feels uncertain. Help me to release the need to control how healing unfolds. Some days I will feel progress. Others I will feel fragile again. Teach me to trust that both are sacred, that both are part of the same holy movement toward wholeness. You are not asking me to be unbroken. You are teaching me that broken things can still shine. The cracks are where your light enters. Father, this healing of surrender also changes how I love. It softens my edges. It makes me gentler with others who are still bleeding. I no longer rush to fix. I learn to listen. I no longer judge the pace of another's recovery. I honor it. I see now that healing is not linear, it is layered. Circular. Sacred. Some wounds reopen to remind me how far I have come. Others close so quietly I barely notice. But in every layer, you are there. Patient. Constant. Kind. There is peace in knowing that I do not have to carry what is too heavy for me. When I place it in your hands, it no longer controls me. Surrender does not erase responsibility, it restores perspective. It reminds me that I am not the healer. I am the one being healed. I am not the savior. I am the one being saved. My part is to open, to release, to trust. Yours is to restore what I could never fix on my own. Lord, in this quiet space, I can feel the weight lifting. The ache still exists, but it no longer defines me. I can breathe again, not because everything is perfect, but because I no longer resist what is real. I am learning to bless even the breaking, to find you not just beyond my pain, but within it. There is a tenderness in this surrender, a strange freedom in letting go. I finally understand that healing is not the end of pain, it is the redemption of it. Father, as morning light stretches across the sky, I feel that same light stretch across my heart. It reaches the corners I once kept hidden, and I no longer pull away. I let it in. The warmth of your presence reminds me that I am safe to be unfinished, safe to be growing, safe to begin again. Healing is not a single moment. It is a lifelong conversation between my weakness and your grace. And so, I rest here, open and unafraid. I no longer need to demand closure or certainty. I only need to keep surrendering to let the healing flow, to trust the slow and holy work you are doing within me. Because in surrender, I have found what I spent so long searching for, not escape from pain, but communion in it. And in that communion, my heart begins to rise, whole not because it is untouched, but because it is held. Father, as the healing of surrender continues to unfold within me, I begin to feel another quiet stirring the invitation to forgive. It comes softly at first, like a whisper in the heart, but it carries the weight of freedom. Forgiveness, I realize, is not a single act, but a sacred journey. It is not about forgetting what happened or excusing what was wrong. It is about releasing what keeps me bound to the past. The pain may have faded, but the memories still echo. And you, Lord, are teaching me that healing is not complete until I let go of resentment and choose to love again. Lord, forgiveness has never come easily to me. I have carried the heavy stones of hurt for far too long, believing they would protect me from being wounded again. But instead, they only built walls that kept joy from entering. The more I clung to my pain, the smaller my world became. Yet here, in your light, I see that forgiveness is not weakness, it is courage. It takes far more strength to release than to retaliate, to soften than to stay hardened. It takes faith to believe that letting go will not erase justice but invite peace. God, there are faces that come to mind when I whisper the word forgive. Some I loved deeply, others barely knew, yet each one left a mark. Some visible, some hidden. For a long time, I thought forgiveness meant reconciliation, that I had to return to what broke me. But now I understand they are not the same. Forgiveness is an inward freedom, not an outward permission. It is saying, this no longer owns me. It is opening my hands and choosing peace over pride. It is no longer allowing pain to dictate who I become. Father, even as I speak these words, I can feel resistance inside me. Part of me still wants to hold on to the hurt as proof of my suffering, as evidence of my right to stay guarded. But then I hear your voice reminding me that holding on to bitterness only repeats the wound. It keeps me trapped in yesterday's shadows when you are calling me into today's light. Forgiveness is not about denying what happened. It is about refusing to let it define the rest of my story. Lord, I also see now that forgiveness is not only for others, it is for myself. I have been harsh with my own heart, punishing it for mistakes long forgiven in heaven. I have carried guilt like a chain, believing it was humility. But true humility does not punish. It receives mercy. You do not shame me for my failures. You invite me to learn from them. To forgive myself is to agree with your grace, to accept that redemption is not earned, but given. There is something sacred in this release. When I forgive, I make room for peace to return. I allow space for joy to bloom again, where bitterness once lived. Forgiveness is the soil where love grows best. It does not mean forgetting. It means remembering differently, without the poison of resentment. It means looking at the past and seeing not what broke me, but how you carried me through. God, help me forgive those who never apologized, who may never understand the pain they caused. Help me release the silent battles I still fight in my mind, the conversations I replay, the judgments I hold. Teach me that forgiveness does not depend on their remorse, but on my willingness to be free. Let me forgive not because they deserve it, but because I deserve peace. Father, help me to see others through your eyes, not as enemies, but as human souls, wounded and searching, just as I am. When I remember how much you have forgiven me, how could I not extend the same mercy? Every time I forgive, I echo your heart. Every time I release, I reflect your nature. You are not only the God who heals, you are the God who forgives, and in doing so, you invite me to live in that same grace. There is a strange paradox here. Forgiveness feels like loss at first, but it becomes gain. It feels like surrender, yet it becomes strength. It feels like death to pride, but it resurrects love. The more I forgive, the lighter I become. The more I release, the more space I create for you to dwell. Forgiveness is the bridge between pain and peace, the sacred crossing where I meet you in the middle of mercy. Lord, I think about how you forgave even as you were betrayed, mocked, and wounded. You did not wait for remorse before extending grace. You chose love over justice, mercy over memory, and in doing so, you showed the world that forgiveness is not about fairness, is about freedom. Teach me to forgive with that same generosity, not from emotion but from conviction. To love not because it is easy, but because it is holy. Father, I also pray for the courage to receive forgiveness from others. Sometimes that is harder than giving it. Pride resists being forgiven. It wants to prove itself worthy. But your grace does not demand worthiness, it gives it. Help me to accept kindness without deflection, to allow love to cover my shame without suspicion. Let forgiveness, both given and received, become the language of my life. And Lord, may forgiveness extend beyond people. Let me forgive the seasons that disappointed me, the dreams that did not unfold, the unanswered prayers that once felt like silence. Help me to release resentment toward time itself, to trust that even delays and detours are part of your divine story. When I forgive life, I stop resisting it. I learn to live open-handed, allowing grace to fill the spaces where expectation once lived. God, forgiveness does not erase the past, but it transforms its meaning. It turns wounds into wisdom, scars into stories of redemption. It makes me tender instead of bitter, grateful instead of guarded. It reminds me that love is stronger than loss, and as I forgive, I can feel the chains loosen. My heart feels lighter, my breath deeper, my soul freer. Father, I lift to you every name, every memory, every moment I still hold with pain. I release them one by one into the river of your mercy. Let forgiveness wash through me like living water, cleansing what was heavy, refreshing what was weary. I do not need to win, I only need to love. I do not need to be right, I only need to be real. And in this surrender, I feel the quiet triumph of grace, the courage to forgive, and the peace that follows. Father, as forgiveness begins to soften the ground of my heart, I feel something new taking root, a quiet compassion that flows not from effort, but from understanding. It does not arrive with noise or demand recognition. It grows in silence, nourished by grace. Compassion is not pity. It is participation in the pain of another. It is seeing someone else wound and recognizing the reflection of my own. And in this realization, I begin to love more deeply, not because people deserve it, but because love is what heals us all. Lord, I used to think compassion was simply kindness, a gentle word or a generous act. But you are teaching me that true compassion is more than sympathy, it is sacred empathy. It is entering another's suffering without judgment, standing beside them in their struggle, and offering not solutions but presence. Compassion is what you have shown me over and over again. The willingness to meet me in my lowest places without condemnation, to hold me even when I could not hold myself. God, when I think of your compassion, I am humbled. You have seen every failure, every weakness, every secret sorrow, and yet you never turned away. You did not rush to fix me. You chose to stay with me. You taught me that love is not about rescue, it is about remembrance. It is about seeing the divine within the broken, the sacred within the scarred. And now, as my heart begins to mirror yours, I want to extend that same compassion to the world around me. Father, there are so many who carry invisible pain. People smile through exhaustion, laugh through loneliness, and hide behind strength. I used to look at others and assume their lives were easier than mine. But now I see that every heart is fighting a battle unseen. Every soul is longing to be understood. Compassion begins when I stop comparing stories and start listening. When I realize that pain does not need to be measured, it only needs to be met. Lord, teach me to look at others through your eyes, to see beyond behavior into the hurt that drives it, to recognize that anger often masks fear, that silence can be a sign of sorrow, that cruelty is sometimes a cry for help. When I respond with compassion instead of reaction, I become a vessel of healing. I may not change their circumstances, but I can change the atmosphere. I can bring gentleness into a world that often forgets how to be kind. God, compassion also means learning to stay open even after being hurt. It means choosing love again, even when trust feels risky. There is courage in that kind of tenderness. The world teaches hardness as protection, but you teach softness as strength. The one who can remain kind in cruelty, who can forgive when wronged, who can see humanity where others see fault, that is the one who truly knows you. Help me to be that kind of soul. Father, let compassion begin at home with how I speak to myself. So often I am quick to forgive others, but slow to forgive myself. I hold myself to impossible standards, forgetting that you never asked for perfection, only honesty. Compassion toward myself does not mean indulgence. It means truth wrapped in mercy. When I treat my own soul with patience, I become more capable of patience toward others. When I stop condemning my mistakes, I stop expecting perfection from the world. Lord, I can see how compassion changes everything it touches. It softens arguments, dissolves pride, and restores connection. It turns strangers into neighbors and enemies into possibilities for peace. When I choose compassion, I am choosing to see the world not as divided, but as deeply connected through our shared need for grace. Each act of understanding becomes a ripple that moves beyond me, touching hearts I may never meet. God, teach me to bring compassion into small moments, the tired cashier, the impatient driver, the child who acts out, the friend who withdraws. Let me pause before I judge, breathe before I speak, listen before I answer. Compassion is often as simple as staying present, as choosing gentleness over speed. It is not grand gestures that change the world, but small mercies offered consistently. Every time I choose kindness when it is inconvenient, I am building a bridge where walls once stood. Father, there is a quiet power in compassion that humbles me. It does not demand recognition, yet it transforms everything it touches. It does not seek to be right. It seeks to be real. It does not insist on being heard. It listens. It does not divide. It unites. This is the power you used to reach the world not through force, but through love that bends low, through mercy that meets the broken where they are. Sometimes, Lord, compassion will hurt. It will stretch my heart wider than comfort allows. It will call me to care even when it is inconvenient, to love even when there is risk, to remain open even when I want to close. But in those moments, I will remember you, the one who never turned away, who loved without measure, who bore suffering not out of duty, but out of devotion. If compassion is costly, then it is also holy. God, help me to live compassion as a daily practice, not an occasional response. Let it be the language my heart speaks fluently, the reflex of my spirit. Let compassion guide how I see, speak, and move. When I am tempted, judge. Remind me that I too am a recipient of undeserved grace. When I am tempted to withdraw, remind me that love grows strongest when it risks being hurt. Compassion does not make me weaker, it anchors me in you. Father, I now understand that compassion is not something I create. It is something I receive and allow to flow through me. It is not a performance, it is presence. It is the echo of your heart moving through mine. When I choose compassion, I am choosing you. I am choosing to be part of the healing of the world, one act of mercy at a time. And as the morning unfolds, I lift my eyes to the quiet light and feel its warmth spreading gently across the earth. Each ray touches something hidden, something aching, something waiting for kindness. In that light, I sense your whisper. Compassion is not a task. It is a way of being. And as I breathe in this truth, I realize that to live with compassion is to live awake, to see, to feel, to love the world as you do. Lord, as compassion opens the eyes of my heart, I begin to see everything differently. What once felt ordinary now glows with meaning. Gratitude rises within me like morning light, gentle at first, then radiant, touching everything it meets. It is not something I must force. It flows naturally when I recognize that even the smallest breath, the simplest kindness, the briefest moment of stillness is a gift. Gratitude does not erase pain, but it transforms how I see it. It teaches me that even the hard places hold grace if I am willing to look closely. Father, there was a time when I measured joy by what I received: answered prayers, visible blessings, moments of success. But now I understand that gratitude is not dependent on circumstance. It is born from awareness. It begins not with abundance, but with attention. When I pause long enough to notice the details, the warmth of sunlight through the window, the laughter of a child, the steady rhythm of my heartbeat, I realize how rich life already is. The more I notice, the more my soul awakens to the quiet generosity woven into every moment. God, gratitude has become my teacher. It shows me that happiness is not about control, but surrender. It reminds me that I am not entitled to anything, yet I am surrounded by everything. It shifts my focus from what is missing to what is present. And in that shift, I find peace. When I thank you for what I have, my hands open wider. When I thank you for what I do not yet understand, my heart grows deeper. Gratitude turns waiting into worship and uncertainty into trust. Lord, Teach me to live each day as if it were both fragile and sacred, to greet the morning not with complaint but with awe, to wake not asking, "What will I gain today?" but whispering, "Thank you for another chance to love." Gratitude grounds me, it keeps me from drifting into fear or frustration. It becomes the rhythm that steadies my steps when life feels unstable. When I live in gratitude, so I stop chasing what I think I need and begin cherishing what I already hold. Father, I want gratitude to become more than words I speak. I want it to shape how I live. Let it color my choices, my tone, my presence. Let it teach me humility when life is generous and endurance when it is not. Gratitude is not pretending everything is perfect. It is believing that even in imperfection, your hand is still at work. When I give thanks in sorrow, I do not deny my pain. I declare that love is stronger than loss. When I give thanks in joy, I acknowledge that every good thing is grace, not achievement. There is a lightness that comes with gratitude. It releases me from comparison and envy, from the endless striving for more. It teaches me that joy multiplies only when shared. I begin to see how gratitude is not just a feeling, it is a way of seeing. It turns obstacles into opportunities, interruptions into invitations, and endings into beginnings. Every challenge becomes a lesson, every disappointment a doorway to deeper dependence on you. Gratitude redefines success. It is no longer about having everything, but about recognizing that nothing is wasted. Lord, sometimes gratitude is quiet, almost hidden. It shows up not in grand expressions, but in simple moments of awareness, a deep breath before a busy day, the sound of rain on the roof, the kindness of a stranger. It is there in the apology that mends a friendship, in the meal shared without words, in the silence where peace slowly grows. Gratitude is the language my soul speaks when it finally stops complaining long enough to listen. God, I also want to thank you for the difficult seasons, for the unanswered prayers that led me to unexpected blessings, for the disappointments that softened my pride, for the losses that opened my heart to compassion. Gratitude does not deny suffering. It redeems it. When I look back, I can see how even in the hardest times, you were shaping something beautiful. You were teaching me to rely not on certainty, but on faith. And now, even the scars hold a strange kind of beauty. They remind me not of pain, but of perseverance. Father, let gratitude become my constant prayer, my quiet song throughout the day. When I walk, let me thank you for the strength of my steps. When I speak, let my words carry kindness. When I work, let my effort be an offering. When I rest, let my heart whisper thanks for the gift of another day lived in grace. Gratitude is not a moment, it is a posture. It is how I align myself with heaven, even while standing on earth. Lord, help me to express this gratitude not just in thought, but in action. Let thankfulness flow through generosity. Let my blessings become someone else's comfort. Let every kindness I offer be my way of saying, thank you back to you. Gratitude that ends with words is incomplete. It must move through hands, through service, through love. When I live this way, every act of compassion becomes worship, every breath a hymn of praise. God, gratitude has taught me to live slower, to see deeper, to love fuller. It reminds me that time is not endless, and that each day is sacred. It tells me that joy does not come from what I control, but from what I release. Gratitude gathers the scattered pieces of my heart and brings them home to peace. It turns life from something I endure into something I cherish. Father, as the morning sun rises higher, I feel its warmth spread across the quiet places of my soul. Gratitude rises with it, filling me with light. It reminds me that nothing is too small to be sacred. Every smile, every breath, every shared glance of love is a spark of your presence. Today, I choose to walk in that awareness. I choose to let gratitude be the lens through which I see the world, the rhythm by which I live, and the light that guides me back to you. Father, as gratitude fills my heart and light surrounds my steps, I begin to feel a deeper peace rising within me, a freedom that can only come from trust. It is not the kind of trust that demands proof or control, but the kind that rests quietly in your faithfulness. Trust is not blindness. It is sight through the eyes of love. It is choosing to believe that even when I cannot trace your hand, I can still trust your heart. And in this trust, I find the freedom my soul has been longing for. Lord, I used to live with clenched fists, holding tightly to plans and outcomes as if my grip could shape destiny. I mistook control for safety, thinking I could protect myself from disappointment. But control is a cage, and trust is the key that opens it. You have been teaching me that letting go does not mean losing. It means living. To trust is to release the illusion of certainty and step into the reality of grace. It is to know that I am guided, even in the fog. God, this freedom of trust does not come easily. It asks for courage to believe in unseen promises, to walk when I do not know the path, to surrender when my heart wants to resist. But every time I choose trust over fear, I feel a weight lift. Worry begins to fade, replaced by wonder. I stop demanding explanations and start experiencing presence. Trust is not about understanding everything. It is about being certain of one thing: you are good. Always good. Father, there is a quiet joy in trusting you. It is not loud or dramatic. It is steady, calm, and enduring. When I trust, my heart no longer races ahead or lingers behind. It moves with the rhythm of your will. I no longer rush to make things happen or force doors open. I learn to wait with peace, to act with purpose, to rest without fear. Trust teaches me that faith is not a destination, but a daily decision to lean not on my understanding, but on yours. Lord, I remember the moments when I fought hardest against uncertainty, how exhaustion followed every attempt to control what was never mine to hold. Yet, even in my striving, you were patient. You let me struggle until I realized that freedom was not in the answer, but in the release. Trusting you means believing that nothing is random, that every detour, delay, and disappointment carries purpose. It means that even when life bends unexpectedly, I am not lost. I am led. God, I am learning that trust transforms how I see time. Instead of fearing what is next, I begin to see the beauty of what is. Trust allows me to live in the present, to find meaning in the waiting, and to rejoice in the unfolding. It reminds me that your timing is not slow, it is sacred. Every season has its reason. Every silence holds a message. When I stop demanding when and why, I begin to hear now. I see that this moment, right here, is already part of the miracle. Father, trust also frees me from the need for approval. I no longer need the world's validation to know my worth. When I trust that I am who you say I am, loved, chosen, guided, I no longer chase the fleeting applause of others. I can walk in confidence without arrogance, humility without fear. Trust anchors me in identity. It reminds me that I am not defined by success or failure, but by belonging. And belonging to you is enough. Lord, teach me to trust not only in peace, but also in pressure. When life presses in, let my faith not falter but deepen. Let storms become classrooms where I learn to rest even in chaos. Let every unanswered prayer become a reminder that silence is not neglect, but invitation. You are not absent in uncertainty. You are shaping trust through it. And as I release control, I find not emptiness, but assurance. God, there is a holy simplicity in this freedom. Trust does not ask for guarantees, it simply holds on to goodness. It does not need to know the route. It just follows the guide. It does not measure success by clarity, but by closeness. The more I trust, the lighter I walk. I no longer fear tomorrow. For I have seen how you carried me through yesterday. Every step forward is not taken alone. Your hand is steadying me, unseen but unshakable. Father, I want this trust to define my life, not as a moment of emotion, but as a habit of the heart. Let it shape how I love, how I speak, how I choose. When others panic, let me bring calm. When confusion surrounds me, let peace be my witness. When fear whispers, let trust answer louder. I do not need to predict the future when I know who holds it. I do not need to understand the plan when I trust the planner. Lord, trusting you has taught me that freedom is not found in having everything under control. It is found in knowing that even when I do not, you do. Freedom comes not from escaping uncertainty, but from embracing it with faith. It comes from walking through open doors without fear and closed ones without bitterness. Trust makes life spacious again. It allows me to breathe, to hope, to dream without restraint. Father, as this new day unfolds, I step into it not with worry, but with wonder. I do not need to have all the answers, because I am learning to rest in the one who is the answer. I do not need to see what lies ahead, for I know that you are already there. The freedom of trust is not about escaping risk, it is about living fully, knowing I am safe in your will. So I open my hands once more, release what I cannot control, and walk forward in peace. And in this quiet surrender, I discover what true freedom feels like, not the absence of uncertainty, but the presence of faith, not the end of questions, but the beginning of confidence. I walk not by sight, but by trust, and that trust, Father, is the song my soul was created to sing. Father, as I continue to breathe in the stillness you have granted through trust, I begin to understand that the greatest freedom is found in your presence. It is not about the absence of struggle or the perfection of circumstance, but about the awareness that you are here, in every moment, in every breath. Yesterday, I learned to release control. Today, I learned to remain present. For what good is freedom if my heart is always chasing what is next and never resting in what already is? Lord, it is easy to let my mind drift, to rehearse the past, to predict the future, to worry about what might never happen. My thoughts scatter like leaves in the wind, and I forget that the ground beneath me is sacred. You are not waiting for me in tomorrow's plans or in yesterday's regrets. You are here, now, quietly whispering through the rhythm of my heart. When I slow down enough to listen, I can almost hear your presence in the air, the hush that reminds me I am never alone. God, help me dwell in the now with open eyes. Let me notice the sunlight warming the window, the breath that fills my lungs, the life pulsing through this ordinary day. These are not small things. They are signs of grace too gentle to demand attention, yet too powerful to ignore. I do not need grand miracles to sense you. I need awareness. I need to stay awake to the divine in the details. For in each moment, no matter how simple, you are near. Father, your presence is not confined to silence or solitude. It lives in the laughter of a child, in the quiet strength of a friend, in the patience of someone who listens without judging. It lives in the courage to forgive and the humility to ask for forgiveness. It is in every act of kindness, no matter how hidden, that I see a glimpse of you. Sometimes I search for you in the clouds, forgetting that you are also in the hands that serve and the hearts that love. Lord, I have often rushed through days, measuring worth by productivity and success. I have treated stillness as idleness, presence as delay. But you remind me that being is not wasting, it is worship. When I am fully present, I honor the gift of this moment you have given. I stop trying to race ahead and start receiving what is already in front of me. Life ceases to be a list of things to achieve and becomes a landscape of grace to experience. God, there is beauty in realizing that your presence does not demand perfection. You do not wait for me to fix myself before you come near. You enter my mess, my noise, my distractions, and you bring peace that the world cannot imitate. Your presence does not erase pain, but it transforms it. It turns confusion into clarity, fear into faith, loneliness into communion. I do not need to escape life to find you. I need to open my eyes to where you already are. Father, teach me the discipline of awareness. Let me pause before I speak, listen before I react, and breathe before I rush. Let me look for you not only in the sacred, but also in the simple, the morning light, the taste of bread, the sound of rain. Every detail becomes a doorway to wonder when seen through gratitude. When I live in the present, I no longer strive to capture time. I allow time to hold me. I stop resisting its flow and begin to move with it, like a leaf carried by a gentle stream. Lord, help me bring this awareness into my relationships. Too often I am with people but not truly there. My mind drifts, my attention splits, my heart is half engaged. Let me love people with the same attentiveness I offer you. Let me see the divine image in every face, even those who have wounded me. Let me speak words that affirm, not destroy. Listen to understand, not to respond. Presence is love's truest form, it says. I see you. I am here. You matter, God. Presence also means patience. It is trusting that I do not need to rush the story you are writing. I can sit with uncertainty without panicking. I can wait without anxiety because you are with me in the waiting. Every delay becomes purposeful when seen through your eyes. The waiting room is not empty. It is filled with grace I may not yet recognize. And in that quiet space, I am transformed not by what happens, but by who I become as I wait with you. Father, there are moments when I still feel the urge to run away from pain, from silence, from myself. Yet every time I run, I find that you are already there, walking beside me. Never hurried, never harsh. You do not demand I hurry back. You invite me to slow down, to rest, to return. Your presence is not a place I enter. It is the reality I awaken to. It is the gentle voice reminding me that home is not somewhere far away, it is wherever you are. And you are always here. Lord, I no longer want to live distracted. I no longer want to miss the sacred by searching for the spectacular. Let me walk through each hour as if it were holy ground. Let me see purpose in interruptions, lessons in stillness, and miracles in the mundane. Let me stop waiting for the perfect moment to be grateful, because every moment is already touched by your perfection. God, as I open my heart to this day, I choose to live fully awake, to see, to listen, to breathe deeply of your presence. I will not chase what is ahead or grieve what is behind. I will simply be here, in this heartbeat, in this breath, in this grace. Presence is not about standing still. It is about walking consciously with you. Father, thank you for the quiet miracle of being alive. Thank you for eyes to see, for time to feel, for love to give. Let this awareness follow me into the hours ahead, not as a fleeting feeling, but as a steady rhythm, sacred reminder that you are not distant, but dwelling. You are not beyond reach. You are the very air I breathe. And so, I walk into this day, not trying to find you, but to notice you here in the softness of morning, in the pulse of life, in the steady whisper of peace that tells me everything I need is already within this moment. Because where you are, Lord, there is life, and I am finally learning to live it. Father, as I continue to walk in your presence, I begin to see how simplicity is not the absence of richness, but the presence of clarity. It is the art of choosing less so I may experience more, less noise, more peace, less striving, more being, less wanting, more gratitude. The world often tells me that abundance is found in accumulation, yet you quietly remind me that true abundance begins with release. In the stillness you create within me, I hear that sacred invitation to live simply, so I can love deeply. Lord, simplicity is not about what I own or how little I have. It is about the posture of my heart. It is choosing peace over performance, contentment over comparison. It is waking each morning and saying, "This is enough." Enough breath, enough grace, Enough purpose. The complicated layers of my life begin to fall away when I stop trying to impress and start learning to express gratitude. In that gentle shift, I rediscover what it means to live fully free from the constant pressure to prove. God, I confess how easily I lose myself in the chase for more success, more approval, more certainty. I fill my days with doing until my soul forgets how to simply be. But you, in your quiet mercy, keep calling me back to stillness. You remind me that even the smallest moment, watching light dance on water, hearing laughter spill through the air, feeling the softness of dawn is enough to remind me of heaven's rhythm. I do not need excess to find meaning. I need presence to find joy. Father, teach me to find beauty in the plain, to find richness in what cannot be bought or measured. The sound of my own breathing is proof of a gift I could never earn. The sunrise does not need my applause to shine. The trees do not rush to grow. They simply reach upward in their time. Simplicity is not laziness. It is living with intention. It is choosing what truly matters and letting the rest fall away. Lord, there was a time I feared simplicity because I confused it with emptiness. I thought slowing down meant missing out, that saying no meant losing opportunity. But now I see that the more I simplify, the more space I make for you. When I let go of clutter both in my surroundings and in my spirit, I begin to hear you clearly. Again, your voice is never loud. It waits patiently beneath the noise. It speaks not in demand, but in invitation. God, help me simplify my heart, too. Remove the unnecessary fears that take up space meant for faith. Clear away resentment that crowds out compassion. Wash away the worry that keeps me from rest. I no longer want to live burdened by what does not belong to me. Simplicity is not about having less. It is about holding everything with lighter hands. It is realizing that nothing I cling to can give me what only you provide, peace that does not depend on circumstance. Father, I want to learn the rhythm of enough, the grace to stop, the courage to rest, the joy to appreciate what is already here. The world chases more, but you teach me that fulfillment is not a destination. It is a way of walking. I find myself richest not when I have everything, but when I lack nothing, because my heart is at peace. When I live simply, I live awake, every act pouring water, opening a door. Taking a breath becomes a prayer of gratitude. Lord, simplicity also changes how I see others. It softens my judgment and opens my heart. I stop measuring people by their titles, possessions, or achievements. I begin to notice kindness, sincerity, and humility, the quiet virtues that reflect your character. I learn to celebrate the unseen goodness in ordinary people and everyday acts. Simplicity makes me human again. It reminds me that we are all walking each other home. God, even my faith becomes simpler when I rest in you. I no longer need to understand every mystery or explain every miracle. I no longer confuse complexity with depth. The deepest truths are often the simplest. Love one another. Forgive. Be kind. Stay humble. Trust me. When I stop overcomplicating faith, I find it alive again, not as a system to manage, but as a relationship to cherish. I do not need to climb to reach you. You meet me where I stand. Father, thank you for teaching me that simplicity is strength, not weakness. It takes courage to live gently in a world that celebrates noise. It takes faith to be still when everyone else is running. It takes clarity to say, I have enough. But in that choice lies peace, the kind that no achievement can buy and no chaos can steal. I begin to understand that simplicity is not an escape from life. It is a return to its essence. Lord, help me carry this grace into each day. Let simplicity guide my words so that they heal, not harm. Let it shape my thoughts so that they serve, not scatter. Let it mark my actions that they reflect calm rather than chaos. When I live simply, I create room for compassion to grow, for gratitude to deepen, and for love to breathe freely. I no longer strive to fill every space. I learn to leave space for you, for peace, for grace. God, in this simplicity I discover joy, not the loud kind that fades, but the quiet joy that endures. It hums beneath the noise of life, like a steady heartbeat. It does not depend on what I possess or achieve. It flows from knowing that everything I need is already given. This joy is not excitement. It is contentment. It is the calm confidence that I am seen, provided for, and loved beyond measure. Father, as I rise into this new morning, let simplicity guide me like sunlight through a window, gentle, clear, unwavering. Let me walk slower, speak softer, and listen longer. Let me find peace not in doing more, but in needing less. Let me live this day uncluttered in my thoughts, my words, my heart. For it is in this space of simplicity that I finally hear what I have been missing all along. The quiet voice of love saying, "Be still. You already have all that you need." Father, as simplicity softens my heart, gratitude begins to bloom quietly within me like dawn unfolding over still waters. It is not forced or rehearsed, it rises naturally, like breath returning after a long silence. Gratitude, I realize, is the light that turns everything it touches into something sacred. It does not change my circumstances, but it transforms how I see them. The ordinary becomes holy, the unnoticed becomes precious, and even the painful carries a strange kind of beauty. Lord, thank you for teaching me that gratitude is not a reaction. It is a way of seeing. It begins not when everything is perfect, but when I notice what already is. The gift is not hidden, it has been here all along. The warmth of sunlight on my face, the quiet strength of people who love me, the small victories that once seemed impossible. Gratitude opens my eyes to the abundance I once overlooked while searching for more. It invites me to live awake, to see the fingerprints of grace in every corner of my life. God, help me remember that gratitude is not reserved for good days. It belongs to every day, even in struggle. There is something to give thanks for, the lesson within the challenge, the growth born from the ache, the faith strengthened through waiting. Gratitude is not denial of pain. It is defiance against despair. It whispers, "There is still light here," even when the night feels endless. It reminds me that your goodness does not vanish when life grows difficult. It becomes even more visible to those who keep looking. Father, I confess that there were seasons when gratitude felt far away, when losses piled up, when prayers went unanswered, when silence stretched too long. I forgot how to say thank you. I saw only absence instead of presence, scarcity instead of grace. But even then, you were patient. You waited until I was ready to see that gratitude does not depend on having everything, but on recognizing that nothing is meaningless. Every breath, every tear, every sunrise carries purpose. Gratitude is the language of the soul that remembers this truth. Lord, teach me to practice gratitude, not as a momentary feeling, but as a daily rhythm. Let it start with small things: the taste of clean water, the laughter of a friend, the stillness of morning. Let it grow stronger as I move through the day, shaping how I speak, how I act, how I see others. When I thank you often, I notice more to thank you for. Gratitude multiplies joy. It turns scarcity into sufficiency and fear into trust. The more I thank you, the more I live like someone who knows they are loved. God, gratitude also humbles me. It reminds me that every good thing is a gift, not an entitlement. I did not earn this breath, this heartbeat, this moment. They are yours, freely given. Gratitude shifts my focus from what I lack to what I have been given, from striving to receiving. It untangles the knots of comparison and teaches me to celebrate others instead of envying them. It transforms jealousy into joy, because the heart that is full of thanks has no room left for resentment. Father, when gratitude fills my thoughts, anxiety begins to fade. Worry cannot coexist with wonder. When I count blessings instead of burdens, peace returns. I begin to trust again in your timing, in your wisdom, in your ways. Gratitude is not blind optimism. It is anchored faith. It sees the storm, but also sees the shelter. It does not ignore reality. It embraces it through the lens of grace. I do not need to control what happens next, when I can thank you for what is happening now. Lord, gratitude also draws me closer to others. It softens my words and opens my hands. When I am thankful, I stop seeing people as interruptions and start seeing them as gifts. Each face, each story, each moment of connection becomes part of the miracle of life unfolding. Gratitude teaches me to honor the sacredness of community, the laughter shared, the shoulders offered, the kindness given without demand. Gratitude turns strangers into companions, and life into communion. God, even creation itself becomes a teacher of thankfulness. The trees lift their branches in silent praise. The ocean moves with endless rhythm, unhurried yet alive. The birds sing not because they understand life, but because they are alive within it. Everything around me testifies to the beauty of existence. Gratitude allows me to join that song, to add my voice to the quiet chorus of the world saying, "It is good to be here." Father, I realize now that gratitude is not a conclusion. It is a beginning. It opens the door to joy, peace, and trust. It prepares my heart to love freely and to forgive quickly. It turns my gaze upward instead of inward. Gratitude does not depend on what I have. It depends on who I am becoming. And when I choose to be grateful, I become someone lighter, freer, more at peace. I become someone who sees not scarcity, but abundance, not endings, but grace unfolding. Lord, let this gratitude shape my entire life. Let it be the song I carry into every conversation, the rhythm behind every step, the light that guides me through uncertainty. When I wake, let my first thought be thank you. When I rest, let my last breath echo the same. Gratitude keeps me grounded when life feels heavy and lifts me higher. When joy overflows, it keeps me centered in what truly matters you. God, thank you for the countless mercies I often overlook, for strength I did not know I had, for forgiveness that restored my heart, for love that found me even when I wandered. Thank you for this day unwritten, unfolding, alive. Thank you for reminding me that gratitude is not a response to what I receive. It is a declaration of who I trust. Every act of thanksgiving brings me closer to you, until gratitude itself becomes worship. Father, as the morning light grows brighter, I feel gratitude glowing inside me like a flame that never fades. It warms my thoughts, softens my words, and steadies my heart. I do not need everything to be perfect to be thankful. I only need to remember that you are here, that life itself is a gift, and that each moment, no matter how fragile, is a chance to say quietly and sincerely, thank you. Father, as gratitude softens into quiet peace, I feel the journey coming full circle, not to an ending, but to a new beginning. From the first whisper of awakening to this calm light of morning, every chapter has led me closer to the center of your presence. I began searching for you in the distance, and now I find you here in every breath, in every heartbeat, in the stillness between words. This prayer was never a path leading outward. It has always been a homecoming, a return to the place where my soul remembers it belongs. Lord, through this long walk of reflection, you have taught me that faith is not a single act, but a rhythm, a heartbeat that continues through every rise and fall. It is not built on moments of certainty, but on the courage to remain open. Even when I do not understand, I once thought belief meant never doubting, but now I see it means trusting despite doubt. Faith is not a shield against storms. It is the anchor that holds me steady until the sky clears again. God, as I stand here at this quiet threshold of a new day, I see how every prayer has been a seed. Some grew in joy, others in sorrow, but all reached toward your light. The mornings I whispered with trembling hands and weary spirit have become roots of strength. Every tear that fell watered something unseen. Every silence that frightened me was really you teaching me to listen. I am not the same person who began this journey. I have been reshaped by mercy, stretched by patience, and strengthened by love that never let go. Father, I no longer see prayer as a list of requests, but as a conversation of hearts. You do not measure my words. You listen to the spaces between them. When I could not find the right things to say, you understood my silence. When I doubted my worth, you reminded me that love is never earned, it simply is. I used to pray to reach you. Now I pray to remember that you were here all along. Every sunrise, every sigh, every quiet thought is a meeting place where heaven touches earth. Lord, as I breathe this morning air, I feel the weight of the world loosen its grip. The past no longer binds me. The future no longer frightens me. All that matters is this moment, this breath, this light. I understand now that renewal does not arrive all at once. It unfolds slowly, like dawn spreading across the horizon. You renew me not by changing everything around me, but by awakening everything within me. Where there was fear, you plant courage. Where there was emptiness, you pour peace. God, I thank you for every lesson hidden within pain, for every delay that turned into direction, for every ending that became an unseen beginning. Nothing was wasted. Even the detours led me deeper into grace. I used to chase purpose like a destination, but now I realize it is the path itself, the walking, the learning, the becoming. Renewal is not a single moment. It is a daily unfolding, a slow awakening of the heart that dares to hope again. Father, let this spirit of renewal extend beyond these words. Let it guide those who have walked with me through this prayer. For everyone who has listened, whispered along, or simply sat in silence with their own longing, may they feel this same gentle turning toward light. May they remember that no darkness is final, that no wound is too deep for healing, that no distance can outlast love. Renewal is not the privilege of the strong. It is the gift given to all who are willing to begin again. Lord, I pray that as we carry this journey into our lives, we continue to practice presence, simplicity, and gratitude. Let kindness be the language we speak, forgiveness the breath we share, and compassion the song we live by. The world does not need louder voices. It needs gentler hearts. It needs people who reflect the quiet power of peace. And so, let this prayer not end here, but ripple outward into conversations, choices, and small acts of love that illuminate the ordinary corners of life. God, help us remember that faith is sustained not by perfection, but by perseverance. Every time we rise again after falling, we honor you. Every time we choose to love when it is hard, we reflect you. Every time we give without expecting return, we echo the rhythm of grace. Renewal is not about becoming someone else. It is about returning to who we were meant to be, whole, awake, and free. Father, as this final chapter unfolds, I feel gratitude deep in my chest, steady and warm. Thank you for being the quiet companion through every season, the unseen listener in the night, the calm in the storm, the whisper in my doubt, the laughter in my joy. You were the light I sought and the breath that carried me here. And though these words may pause, the prayer continues because prayer is life itself, flowing, breathing, unfolding with every sunrise. To you who have walked this path with me, thank you for listening, for opening your heart, for choosing stillness in a world that rushes. May these moments of reflection stay with you beyond this morning, reminding you that renewal begins wherever you are. If these words have touched you, I invite you to share your own thoughts, hopes, and prayers below. Let us build a circle of faith that grows wider with every voice that joins it. And as we close this chapter together, I ask one simple thing: carry this light forward. Subscribe to the channel. Share this prayer with someone who may need it. And return often, not just to hear words, but to strengthen your faith each new day. Let this space be a small sanctuary where weary hearts find calm, where gratitude finds voice, and where each dawn feels like a promise kept. Now, as the light spreads across the horizon and the air turns soft with the breath of morning, I feel the quiet assurance that everything begins again. The world awakens, gentle and alive, wrapped in the first glow of day. Somewhere, a breeze moves through the trees, carrying whispers of renewal, and within that tender silence, faith rises once more like the slow, steady unfolding of a new sunrise.